The KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show for Friday, February the 9th. Come on. T-Rex bang a gong. T-Rex, one of the great woulda, coulda, shouldas, boy. I mean, he actually did. It wasn't really a woulda, coulda, shoulda, but Mark Bolan was just ready to roll forever. Car crash. These things happen, I guess.
Not one gong in that song, though.
No. It's one of the great overlooked moments in rock history. You know, that song was just flying up the charts, and someone at the record company went, "Hey, Mark, there's no gong on the song, man." And Mark was like, "Oh, that really doesn't make any sense at all, does it?" This is the 6th time Kansas City's been in a Super Bowl. It's the 8th time San Francisco's been in a Super Bowl. As a lifelong football fan, it's been a really long time since my team made the Super Bowl. I mean, I was a Baltimore Colts kid, and then when they left Baltimore, I said, well, screw them. And and then I moved to Nashville one day after 20 years in the wilderness and said, I guess I'll just become a Titans fan. It'll make my life easier. No Super Bowl experience with them. The one time the Titans made it, I was not yet on the bandwagon. And then I'm looking around, Candace and Tony, both Twin Cities lifers, Vikings fans. Been a while since the Vikings have been in a big game. Zepp, you're the only guy around here who can literally look back with happy Super Bowl memories.
Yeah, I got to go all the way back to the 40s. I think it was like 43 or 40. I forget which one it was. They beat the Cardinals.
What are you talking about? You're a Steelers fan.
Pittsburgh boy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But I mean, I got to go back to I'm talking about the number of Super Bowls. Super Bowl number 43 or 44 the last time. It's been a while, but I'm not complaining. You know, got a couple with Big Ben there, and of course, a child growing up. In fact, I was talking with a guy from Pittsburgh yesterday. He's like, "Oh, where were you born?" I said, "Central Pennsylvania." He goes, "Eagles fan, huh?" I said, No. I was growing up in the 1970s in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, of course.
So, actually, I was in South Dakota, but I was born in Pennsylvania. When I was 5 and moved to South Dakota. Who cares? But yeah, all my family is Eagles fans, but no way. We had Roman Gabriel, and the Eagles were sucked in the 70s when I was growing up.
Gabriel.
The Steelers had the steel curtain, for God's sakes, and we're just knocking down Super Bowls like beers at a Super Bowl party. So yeah, I'm a lifelong Steelers fan. But, I've lived and raised 2 kids in Minnesota for so many years that, I've grown quite affectionate of the Vikings without having to, experience quite all that pain that people that are stuck with the purple have experienced. But I've often said I would love to see the Vikings make the Super Bowl and lose to the Steelers again. I would love to see that.
I would be thrilled. And hope springs eternal all around the world. But as long as Mahomes is in Kansas City, on the AFC side of the ledger, sorry, man. I mean that dance card is filled up pretty much for the foreseeable future. As long as he and Andy Reid stay together, I've decided I'm never betting against them again. I think it's going to be a good game. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I don't think either team's going to get near 30 points.
I'm going the other way, buddy.
Really?
Yeah, I'm gonna. San Francisco up big early, blowout in the first half. Kansas City makes it a game a little bit in the second half, but too little, too late, can't get the job done.
Really? Wow. Yeah, I'm going with the Chiefs. You're going with the 49ers, huh?
Oh, all the way. All right. Yeah.
All right, strong. I like that. I'm thinking that, I tell you what, if the Niners want to win this game, they better get up early. They do not want to be behind. Look, I'm not one of those guys who says Brock Purdy's the most overrated. He's fine, but you don't want him to have to make a big comeback against a team like the Chiefs. I'll say that. But if they get up early and if that run game, McCaffrey, they got all the weapons, blah blah blah, I could totally see it happening. But really, it's all about Usher. I'm kidding. Yeah. I wouldn't know Usher if he walked up and punched me in the face.
I was so obsessed with Usher when I was little. I had a birthday party. I think it was like my 12th birthday party, and I had everybody gather around me as I sang "You Got It Bad," and it was my mom recorded it. It was a big deal. I was wearing like Hello Kitty pajamas.
What you're going to tell me is I'm going to hear songs at the halftime show that I will go, oh, I've heard that before.
Yeah, of course.
I don't know if I saw something the other day that said Usher's, I guess his first album has sold 20 million copies, and I was like, "What? I'm sorry, who? What?"
You'll recognize one. It was a big dance club hit.
I just that was like baby era
there's
for
a bunch.
me.
You will recognize them, but I mean, I knew old Usher. That was one of the first CDs I ever had, and I saw him in high school. In 8th grade, I went to go see him in concert. This is the lineup. Usher headlined, Kanye West was right before, and then Rihanna was right before that. So, like, the roles totally have reversed.
Shut it down like a diamond.
Crazy.
You said
House of Usher. Have you seen his house, Usher's house?
No.
It
House
fell.
of Usher?
So
No? Yeah. Bummer.
You said Kanye West, and I literally heard Connie West, and I was like, I don't remember Kanye West.
That's what I heard was Kanye West. I'm like, I loved her. She used to perform with Hank Williams,
well, he's totally, it's like no one ever thinks about Kanye West anymore. He's totally done. But Rihanna's...
Kanye. It sounds like you're saying Kanye.
Kanye.
Oh, there it is.
Yay.
Just yay.
Kanye.
Just yay to your generation. Yay.
I'm just saying, it's crazy. It's crazy, man.
Okay, so it's crazy. So, well, let's you know what? Let's get into it in a little bit. Let's discuss our plans for the day. Because the Super Bowl. I mean, we can talk football, but why? Let's talk about the party. Let's talk about how hammered at least one person in our life is going to be, and let's talk about the lessons we've learned from Super Bowl parties past.
Oh my gosh, I remember the Super Bowl parties. Most of them, good and bad. That's what I want to talk about. I don't remember many games. We'll get into all that. Hang tight.
Connect with us on the KQ Talk and Text line. 651-989-ROCK. That's 651-989-ROCK. 92 KQRS.
This is the KQ Morning Show. It is Friday, February the 9th. The big game is on Sunday. We just heard That's All, a Genesis song, Phil Collins singing. Did you know Phil Collins played congas on George Harrison's All Things Must Pass album? He was a young guy, and he somehow ended up on the session. Harrison's first big solo album. And years later, 30 years later, like the year 2000, Phil Collins saw George Harrison and mentioned to him that he goes, you probably don't remember this, but I played congas on All Things Must Pass on a few of those tracks. I was that kid that didn't say anything because I was so nervous to be there. And George was like, oh, wait, that was you? That's amazing. And he said, and then a few days later, Phil got a tape, and George said they'd gone through he just asked someone to go pull up some master tapes and let's hear what he played. And it was like apparently just god awful. I mean, like the congas were out of time and it's a mess. And as one song ends, you can hear the musicians and you hear George Harrison say to Phil Spector, "Can we please get another conga player?"
Oh God, that's great.
And Phil Collins is just mortified. I mean, he's horrified. And then next time he's talking to George, he says, like, I don't know what to say to that. But the whole thing was a prank. George completely made the tape so it sounded that way. That wasn't real at all. He went out of his way to go in and record banter after the track so it sounded like it had been sitting there for 30 years. That's good stuff. That's a good prank right there.
Oh God, yeah, what a great sense of humor.
I just Googled Phil Collins with hair. Man, he used to be a hairy SOB back in the 70s. Looked good.
Sure he did. Yeah. It makes me think about there was a Cadbury's chocolate TV commercial for like 20 years ago, and it featured the song "In the Air Tonight." And I don't know if you remember this, but it's just a gorilla sitting in a drum kit.
The gorilla, sure.
Yeah. Anyway, Phil Collins, you said he was awful hairy, and I go right back to the Cadbury ad with the gorilla sitting there. That's how my brain works. The big game is this Sunday, and I just was looking at past Super Bowls, like the list of games. A couple things jumped out at me. I completely forgot that in 2018, when the Eagles somehow beat the Patriots, that was right here in Minneapolis, the U.S.
And
Bank
that was
Stadium.
the band, actually.
What's that?
Yeah, that was the band, the Eagles. Took them down.
Yeah.
Glenn Fry went deep.
It was a shock to us all. No, you know what it was? It was Nick Foles, the backup quarterback for the Eagles, right? Because Carson, what's his name? Not Carson
Wentz, yeah.
Was that he was with the Eagles. Wow.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize that game was here. I guess none of you guys were in attendance that day.
That was the year everybody hoped that Vikes would play at home for the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the
Not
same
to be.
season as the Miracle win over New Orleans. Is that same? Yeah, that's right. That's right. Looking back.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And then Foles came in and scored like 4 or something like that and was a Super Bowl hero. And I think that was the last solid game of football he ever played.
It pretty much was. And also I saw this. This is something I don't remember happening at all. I remember the game in 92. Washington beat Buffalo 37-24. That game, 1992, was at the Metrodome. I don't remember the Metrodome hosting a Super Bowl at all.
Oh, yeah. It was embarrassing because the Metrodome was just not. I mean, in 1981, it was like, wow, look at this. We don't have to sit in a snowstorm and sub-zero temperatures to watch a football game. But it wasn't. it wasn't these cathedrals that they're building now, these modern architectural marvels that they're building now. And so it was kind of like, oh, now you're coming to the Metrodome. It was just concrete and
it was sterile.
Oh yeah,
it really was.
It was good for rollerblading.
I saw a Twins game there once, and it was. I hear you.
Hear what I love about the Twins game. It was built to be a football stadium, and the Twins games, your chairs, I loved if you sat on the third or first base line, didn't matter, but if you were there above the dugout, your chairs pointed away from the home plate just a little bit.
Really?
Just, about 5 degrees away.
Nice.
You had to kind of cock your head back to home plate, but doing much better now. Some people don't dig the U.S. Bank, but I think it's one hell of a stadium.
Designed by a chiropractor, that seat arrangement.
Yeah, right, I think so.
Yeah, man, that's... So I got to think, too, then you got to go way back. But, of course, anybody listening to the show knows very well the Vikings went 4 times in the 70s and came up 0 for 4. We're talking about Super Bowl parties. I've had some sloppy Super Bowls. I'll just come out and tell you that.
Yeah.
But I can only imagine what those were like, especially like the 3rd and 4th one around here. Tony, the first time they went was 1970, lost to the Chiefs 23-7. Do you remember that? You would have been, you had memories from 1970. Do you remember that game?
I remember my parents had a bunch of people over.
Oh, did they?
But I was too young to really understand. Everyone was like, oh, how do you think the game's going to go? I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah, right.
I didn't really understand what was happening. I just knew that there was a giant bowl of Fritos, and I was all over that.
Yeah, that's strong. And then let's see. So that was 1970. Next time they make it is 74. Miami 24, Minnesota 7. They went 2 straight, 74, 75, and then again in 77. Is it all a blur to you, Tony? I mean, by that time you're a young teen in the Twin Cities. Any memories of those games or those parties?
Well, I remember great Super Bowl parties, but the one when I was a kid, the one that's memorable to me is how foolish and dorky my parents looked, because I had some friends over and we were like in the den watching the game, and my mom made a big deal about, don't spill. I don't want you to spill any of this. Sure. And as she turned around to walk out of the room, all my friends were sitting on the couch. She tripped and knocked over this little table full of chips and dip and everything. And my dad, who was notoriously clumsy, came in one time just to say hi, and you could tell that he was so self-conscious. He's like, don't do anything, don't do anything. No. And as he left, he closed the door on his nose. So just my friends and I had just giggle fest.
Oh, man.
That's what I remember.
Yeah, something about Super Sunday. It's just things are going to backfire on you. I mean, I've been to some legendary Super Bowl parties in that, loaded potato skins. The only time I ever puked at a Super Bowl party, I wasn't even drunk. I just ate so many damn potato skins. I didn't know that you could load up potato skins. This is back in the early 90s.
Bacon bits.
I don't know. Oh, and avocados. They were just huge, and I just sat there by the big, and when no one was looking, I'd eat 5 more. Oof. And then I actually ended up barfing at like halftime, and I'd had like 2 beers. Some of the taquitos, and oh my gosh, we had this. I could get into Super Bowl parties. We've had some legendary ones, but the snacks are what I tend to remember. We had this a group of friends, and then 2 of them got together. A bad idea. We're a great group of friends. 2 of us start seeing each other and living together, and they were just immediately super annoying, and no one liked them anymore. But they had these great Super Bowl parties, and they would cook and come up with ham and cheese pinwheels and, fried pickles. That was the first time I think I remember having fried pickles at their place. I'm like, you deep fat fried pickles, you beautiful genius.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I can remember, the first time I ever had what would obviously just be nachos or chips with jalapeno slices was at a Super Bowl party. I was in high school at a friend's house, but I remember she had the cookie, his mom, she had a cookie tray, like a pan, and she laid out the chips like not in a pile, but like one after the other, like in nice, perfect rows. And then each chip had one, like a jalapeno slice that was cut in half and a little tiny bit of cheese dropped on that, and she baked them in the oven. At like 350.
Labor intensive.
Yeah, it was very labor intensive, but they looked perfect. And then she pulled them out and then transferred them to a plate, and you would just pick up the chip one at a time. There was no mess. And she was like, "We're having nachos." And I remember thinking like, "Oh, so that's nachos." And like, I was probably 14 or 15, and then at some point I saw like a what was really nachos, and I was like, "Huh. And all this time, I thought it was a very clean, a dignified snack. I didn't throw up, but I could have, because I was like, there's something, the first time ever, like, this chip and this cheese and this pepper, I am in heaven. I can't stop eating this nonsense. Yeah. Pretty great.
Man, you use the word labor. I like that, because our social media post this morning on the Facebook page and open to the KQ Talk and text line 651-989-ROCK. What's your most memorable big game party, good or bad? Especially bad, Candace wrote. Carol, 2001, went to a Super Bowl party, came home in labor.
Oh, boy.
Super Bowl baby. Not conceived, but brought into this world on Super Sunday. All right, get on the KQ Facebook page. Give us a call. It is Movie Review Friday. Mike Evans not far off. Hang tight.
Connect with us on the KQ Talk and text line. 651-989-ROCK. That's 651-989-ROCK. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It's time to head west for the last time before the big game. It's the Mike Evans Hollywood Report.
Hey, good morning, Minneapolis, St. Paul, and Steve, and Candace, and Zepp, and Tony. Boy, I got a crazy, crazy report for you today, brought to you by Marcus Theaters. They're the best. Don't forget, Tuesday, Marcus special, $6 for any movie. Marcus Theater, might want to go this weekend. Okay, so it's Friday, and I have another Mike Evans true story. This happened in 1974 when I was traveling with the Los Angeles Dodgers as a pup reporter. The Dodgers went to the World Series that year, but they lost in 5 games to the Oakland A's. I had been traveling with the Dodgers the entire year. We lost Game 5 in Oakland. When flying back to Los Angeles after losing that night, on the Dodger plane, I was absolutely shocked that many of the players on the plane were drinking and laughing. I was sitting next to Bill Buckner, and I asked Bill, you just lost the World Series. Why aren't you upset? Buckner looked at me like I was crazy and said, well, I'm not happy about it, but hell, we played the best we could possibly play. We lost. Season's over. Nothing to do about it now. It's time to party. Can't help it. We lost. Game's over. Season over. Then he added, we're not like crazy fans and go nuts. It means it's over. With that old Mike Evans story in mind, whoever wins Sunday, just enjoy the game. Don't get crazy or mourn or be depressed like so many fans do. It's just a game. I can't wait to see it, and I'm not going to get upset. I love being on with you guys. I've been on with you for over 2 decades, and I can do things with you that I don't do with anybody else, and I'm going to do something crazy. Now, I'm taking Monday off, but I'm doing it to do an experiment. I'm going to do something that's probably never been done before that may prove me a clairvoyant, could prove that I got a lot of egg on my face. But here's what I want to do. On Sunday noon, and you can timestamp it when you get it, I am going to send my report, Sunday noon, for Monday, and talk all about what happened during the Super Bowl. Of course, this is hours before the game's even been played. It'll be interesting to see how close I come or completely off I am. But I'm going to be too embarrassed to talk to Monday. We'll talk on Tuesday to see how I did. But it'll be interesting to see what happened. I can't believe I'm doing that. But I'm doing this. It's Aloha Friday. No work till Monday. Make it Tuesday. Aloha Friday. Have a great week and enjoy the game. Mike Evans, see ya.
I think we should do the same thing.
Sure. Yeah, okay. You've already given your prediction. If all we got to do is predict the game today and then we get Monday off, let's go for it.
Yeah. I do like this headline that I saw this morning. Employers bracing for a breakout of super flu on Monday. Might not be anyone listening on Monday morning.
That's very true. The yearly appeal to the gods of planet Earth to please put the Super Bowl on a Saturday. Just
make it a 3-day weekend. Go for it all. Why give ground on that? Yeah, it's a 3-day weekend.
When's President's Day weekend? Do it put it on the Sunday of It's already a Monday off. Just move it.
It's almost there anyway. It's
that's what I'm saying. Weekend. That's next week, right? Yeah, come on. Yeah. Okay. Let's get this together. Let's look back.
Okay, Steve.
February the 9th, 1999, an ethics panel reported that in order to receive the bid for the 2002 Winter Olympic Games, Salt Lake City officials showered Olympic delegates with cash payments and an array of gifts. It was bribery. It was a scandal. And everybody went, yeah, no kidding. There's the only thing the Olympics have going for them is that they're not quite as corrupt as FIFA, the people that run soccer around the world. The 1976 Summer Olympics in Montreal, the project cost $124 million. Due to construction delays, cost overruns for a new stadium, the way they had to set up the debt payment structure, the city took 30 years paying off what turned out to be over $1.5 billion. All the Olympics do is break cities' budgets. But hey, it's kind of fun. I bitch about the Olympics, and then they start every year, and I'm like, oh my God, I watched the medal stand, and I cried like that guy, that shot putter I've never heard of, and I've already forgotten his name, but his mom was there, and it just broke my heart. There's nothing about it. It just gets me every time.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS. Zep, Tony, Candace, and Steve Gorman are the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS.
This is the KQ Morning Show. It is Friday, February the 9th. Hey, on the show today, in about an hour, Ryan Smith is going to join us. He is an anchor at ESPN. He does SportsCenter and Outside the Lines. He's also a legal analyst, and he's also got a new show called Bad Romance. It's going to start airing after The Bachelor, and it's true crime, crazy stuff, stories of relationships gone awry and the malfeasance people find themselves in. Basically, it's all about just crime and awful stuff. But it's going to be fascinating. We're talking with him. And then at 9:30, we're talking to River Butcher, a comedian who is at Acme this weekend. So we got that going for us. Oh, and by the way, we're also giving away some tickets today on the show. Around 8:20, 8:25, we're going to give away Rob Zombie and Alice Cooper tickets because we're cool. Wow. That's what we're doing, and that's why we're doing it.
Woo!
The big game this weekend. So another local flavor for a Super Bowl past. We mentioned earlier, Usher will be the halftime performer. In 2007, the list of greatest ever halftime performances, it changed. It altered forever, which was because of 2007 Super Bowl, we have, there's Prince, and then there's everybody else. That's certainly the way I look at it. I'm not saying that to try to sound cool. I remember watching that Prince performance at a Super Bowl party, 40, 50 people around two giant TVs at a friend's house, and everybody was literally in awe. Like when it ended, we were clapping at a house in Tennessee. Like, it was amazing. Yeah. I mean, it was bizarre. It was like that, I've been on airplanes when it lands and people clap, and I'm like, what are you doing? And it was one of those, and we all looked at each other like, why are we applauding? But everyone just kept applauding. It was incredible.
Yeah, blown away.
The rain just made it that much cooler. And then I think about that, and then I'm like, and the game was who was who
Bears,
was that? Yeah, Bears.
Peyton
That's
Manning
right.
won one for the Colts finally.
Yep, that's it.
Great documentary on that. It's only like maybe 10 minutes, maybe 20 minutes, maybe it's 20 minutes long on that happening. And I've watched that probably more than any Super Bowl highlights. I love watching the documentary. But, of course, the great Prince line in there, the guy that's in charge of all the tech and making it happen, calls Prince up and says, it's a downpour. It's a deluge. I don't know what we're going to do here, man. Are you thinking about canceling? What can we do for you? And Prince said, make it rain harder. Mm-hmm. And that was his comeback, and it was just, and then he comes on stage, and they just called them the twins, his two dancers. Yep. I don't know how they didn't end up on their asses, but what an amazing performance! Truly incredible. And Zep, you mentioned earlier at a Super Bowl party, you overindulged on potato skins. You wrecked yourself. You were throwing up. I'm gonna have to just go gross Super Bowl party experience right now because it happened shortly after that halftime performance. The game ended. Peyton, and by the way, also Peyton Manning, having played college football in Tennessee, he's an icon in that state to this day. There are tens of thousands of Colts fans in Tennessee simply because he went to play there. So Peyton got his Super Bowl. Prince had the halftime performance for the ages. So all around the party I attended, it was just happiness. It was just joyous. People were thrilled. I spent that day having fun, but a little uncomfortable because on my back, on my right shoulder blade, for a couple of years, I had a completely non-threatening and completely otherwise harmful cyst.
Yikes!
It just appeared one day, and it got a little bigger and bigger, and it was noticeable, and it was interesting because if anybody gave me a hug where their hands naturally found themselves on my back, they would always land on this little bump. And so for a few years, and it didn't hurt. I didn't feel it, but for a few years, anytime someone gave me a hug, they'd go, "Hey, what?" Like they just don't expect to. Put your hand on what feels like a gerbil on someone's back. But there it was. Okay, weird. So here's so again, it was totally, I didn't notice it. I didn't see it. It's on my back. I couldn't feel it. There was nothing about it until somehow it got infected. And then it started getting itchy and kind of painful. And so I'm watching Prince. I'm watching that Super Bowl. And the whole time I'm like, man, the thing on my back kind of hurts. This is weird. I'm like, babe, come look at this. Something. And she's like, oh, it's getting kind of red. That looks different, my wife. Anyway, go home after the game. I'm like, man, that halftime performance was amazing. And my son's very excited because, he loves football. And my daughter's excited because she'd been at a party all day. And we had a great day. And then all of a sudden, that cyst on my back just bursts.
Oh,
and I'm like,
my God.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And so while everyone else is still thinking about what a great day it was, I'm in the shower with this thing just oozing out of my back.
Did it feel good, though? I mean, it's like relief.
No, I mean, it hurt and it didn't smell great, and
oh,
and
what did it smell like, Steve?
And I'd spent the afternoon just stuffing my gob at a Super Bowl party, and then I'm like, this is turning into a bad day.
Too bad it didn't happen on Valentine's Day.
Oh, that would have been so much better. And so it was just, I'm not going to go too deep on the details, but suffice to say,
I feel like you already have.
It's amazing how much stuff can come out of a cyst. just poured out for what felt like hours. And so that ends. Got a big scar on my back. I have to go. I go to the doctor. Like, hey man, it looked like it needed it looked like I'd been shot. It was like a freaking bullet hole in my back.
I'd go with that story. I was shot in the back.
Yeah. Well, trust me. The scar looked great for a long time. I was like, but then as cysts do, it came back.
Oh my goodness.
And then I got it removed. Then I went to a dermatologist. I was like, hey, can we do something about this? And he said, we can cut it out, but we got to cut out a much bigger part because if you leave any cells behind, they'll just come back forever.
You have like a big divot in your back?
Yeah, I did. It's healed up now, but for a while there, I did. Like at the pool, it was definitely. I told my kids, if anybody asks, you just tell them I took a bullet for the team.
Yeah, give it a cool story.
Yeah.
Did you name the cyst at any point?
Maybe, probably. Nothing I could repeat on the air. But of all my Super Bowl malfeasance, that's one that I didn't really do it to myself. I've had plenty of other opportunities. The first time I remember being just blitzed, hammered during a game, I didn't see one play of it. It was the Super Bowl in 1990. I spent the entire afternoon on a flight from Atlanta to Los Angeles. The first time me and my band ever went to L.A., and we're flying literally like as we're taking off, they're kicking off that Super Bowl 24. The Broncos just got destroyed that day by, I think, the Niners. And so we're on this flight. And the flight attendant was kind of like, are you guys in the band? And we're like, yes, we are. All right. And she was just giving us like free screwdrivers. Like we didn't have to pay for our drinks.
Right on.
Thank you.
And, you're talking, the adrenaline of our first trip to L.A. Plus free cocktails is a heady mix. But so, I remember thinking like, I can't believe I'm missing a Super Bowl, but I guess this is what happens when you have to commit to your job. And so I'm just thinking about it. But it was hilarious because I think the score of that game was like 55-7 or 55-10. It was a monumental blowout. And every few minutes, the pilot would come on. He'd be like, from the cockpit, another update from the game. Denver just fumbled and San Francisco scored 3 more times since I last talked. I mean,
why don't you fly the plane?
Every time he gave an update, and everybody, I just remember the whole plane laughing just at how absurd it was, because that was at a time when the AFC was like such a junior league. The NFC was just on a tear. But landed in L.A., just wasted and in a good mood, and I still don't know. It's weird to think about a game that I don't even remember seeing a highlight from, because it's not like I rushed to a TV to catch up. Yeah, so that was probably the drunkest Super Bowl of my life at the time. And I didn't see a single play. Didn't see a snap.
Yeah, I've had I probably saw a play. I don't know if I've had a complete blackout during the game or wasn't available to watch at least some of the game. But I do remember coming in for a lot of Monday morning shows right here on the Q and going, what? Are you kidding? What happened? Did you watch the game? I was like, yeah, I was at a party. It was on. I mean, I might have had to cut a whiz or something during, what was that? A great comeback. So there was a lot of missed memories along the way. I'm liking the KQ Facebook post this morning. We're talking about big game party, good or bad stories. I'm just going to mention Duke's not a Super Bowl party. Normally, I would quit reading right there, Duke, but 3 years in a row on Super Bowl Sunday, 88, 89, 90, had a car accident at the same intersection.
Come on.
What? Duke.
What? Same guy,
buddy.
Same car, same intersection.
3 in a row?
Not a Super Bowl party, but 3 years in a row, 1988, 89, 90, I had a car accident at the same intersection on Super Bowl Sunday. I'm guessing in 91 you took a different route? Or
Wow.
That's pretty nuts. We have David here, 1975, Vikings Steelers. Yeah. My dad had some friends over at the game. They watched, partied downstairs. I was upstairs and recorded the audio from the game on my giant Panasonic tape recorder.
Sure you did.
Kurt Gowdy and Turn Out the Lights. Don Meredith were the commentators. Halftime score 2-0. I remember Steelers held the Vikings Super Bowl records. Well, they both had those great defenses that year. It was a number 1 and number 2 defense in the league going at it. But he's got it all on his Panasonic tape recorder.
Wow.
Thank you, Tubby from Northeast.
Oh, Tubby. We know Tubby. I saw Tubby out. I've seen him a couple times walking in the hood. The days of recording things on TV onto your tape player. Yeah, absolutely. My the Schaus house, my friends the Schauses, they had just cassettes, just tons of cassettes. They would record basketball games that they were watching. They would record the audio and then literally go back and listen and talk about it. Like they'd break it down. Oh, that was that pass. Remember that? And that's the bounce pass that went off his knee. And I'm like, man, you guys are really serious sports fans. I mean, I like sports, but you guys are insane.
Yeah, right. No, I had friends who would do that as well, and they'd bring the cassettes and like, hey, anybody want? I got the Celtics Sixers here. I mean, they were selling them like cigarettes on the playground.
Yeah, right.
A lot of them weren't televised. If somebody had, I remember one of our classmates had cable TV in Woolsey. First house to have cable. Yeah, and he would tape some of the games for us and bring them in and be like listening to the big Sixers fans, Sixers and the Celtics back in the day. Mm-hmm. Good stuff.
More grub getting shoved down Americans' throats than any day of the year other than Thanksgiving, Super Bowl Sunday. And I'm actually kind of surprised. I would have thought it would top Thanksgiving just because it's a longer day of feasting. You know what I mean? Like the people are around for hours and hours and hours. Mm-hmm. And Thanksgiving is you sit down and you have just it's a meal.
Yeah.
But Super Bowl's just grazing all damn day long. That's amazing to me. Apparently there's going to be 8 million pounds of guacamole consumed. 8 million pounds of guacamole. That's like a stadium full of guacamole.
Right.
That's a lot.
There's 8 million pounds probably being prepared.
Right.
About half of it will be eaten. The rest will be brown the next day in the refrigerator. You'll stare at it and pitch it.
Of 8 million pounds of guacamole, I guarantee you 7 million pounds of that really won't be very good.
No.
It's gonna have the consistency maybe, but you'll just add salt and then you won't even notice. But boy,
I was just how unimaginative. But I was just reading in the Strip that the number one snack generally for Minnesotans on Super Bowl Sunday from a survey of I don't know how many here, over 1,000 Minnesotans, boneless chicken wings. I mean,
I think
can't
that's
go wrong.
National wings is the number one thing that people
wings
have.
Nationally, but we're boneless here in Minnesota, which, by the way, is my preference.
What?
Why get all sloppy with the bones? Somebody put it in a ready-to-eat. I don't have to, smear it off a bone and get my fingers, and then the buffalo sauce gets under the fingernails, and it burns a little bit. You're right. It's not real wing meat. I mean, it's parts, right? It's just...
it's just
sweepings,
it's just something. It's just a dollop of chicken something or other.
Right.
With a bone, at least you can reasonably assume it actually came from a chicken.
Yeah.
Whereas a boneless wing is just a creation of some sort. It's batter dipped. It's fried. Not that I sweat
American.
it. Hey,
repurposed.
I'll knock down a bowl of boneless wings with the best of them. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that. All right, Super Bowl party stories this morning. Might have to get along to some of this other stuff. Remember when climbing Mount Everest seemed like the most adventurous, wildest, craziest thing to do? You'd never even contemplate it. They have a death zone up there. Of
course.
Who does that? And now it's like looking at a line to get into Disney World, and they have a new rule if you're going to climb Mount Everest, if you got that on your bucket list. Among other things coming up here in about 10 minutes. Hang tight.
Connect with us on the KQ Talk and Text line. 651-989-ROCK. That's 651-989-ROCK. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. About an hour from now, we're going to be giving away tickets. Rob Zombie and Alice Cooper tickets. Let's see. 40 minutes from now, Ryan Smith, ESPN, is going to join us. 9:30, we have a great comedian, River Butcher, in studio with us. So a lot going on today on the show. If you're planning to summit Everest, if that's something if that's on your bucket list, I got to get to the top of Mount Everest. First of all, you got problems. Okay, let's just establish that right now. The idea that you want to do that to yourself, I'll never understand it. My wife has a fear of heights, by which I mean a single-story building. Get her on the roof, and she'll lay down into a fetal position and go into a bit of a shock. I've seen that literally happen. My wife one time took skis off and walked down an entire ski slope because she started to, just couldn't handle it. When someone says they're afraid of heights, believe them. I made that mistake. Took me a while to finally accept that's what that is. But yet, she'll watch anything you ever see about Mount Everest. She's obsessed with documentaries, series, anything about climbing Everest. She's so in, and I guess it's because she knows I mean, I don't really understand it. There's something about I can't stand heights, and she watches it in pure terror, abject horror, but she can't turn away. It's her thing. I've never really thought about it either way. It's nothing I would ever consider doing. I know it's not possible. Seeing a thing about Mount Everest, it's like watching someone play, a harp. I'm never going to do that. It's okay, sure. I'm glad you can do that.
Well, if you find yourself sitting in front of one, maybe you take a poke at it.
Exactly. I mean, I like to walk. I like to hike. I don't want to even think about that. Right. But now I have an entirely new reason to never consider doing Mount Everest. If I wake up one day and that's my new plan, I'm going to do it. Then I have a new reason to talk myself out of it, and it's this: Mount Everest apparently is, and this is a quote, blanketed in human waste.
Oh,
ish.
I know about dead bodies.
Never occurred to me that all those guys going up, all those guys and gals going up and down, they still got to poop. Right. Where do you do it? Where do you go? What do you do? Apparently, you just pull over and drop it in the ditch. Or in this case, you just walk off that trail a couple feet because every step matters. And you just let it fly wherever you can. Oh. And then you zip up and continue to the summit.
Yikes.
And so now there's a new rule. If you go up, you gotta bring down. You gotta weigh the same when you come back down. So you gotta bring bags, and you gotta bag your own and bring it down off the hill.
Wow.
Oh, like the dog walkers, the poop bags.
Exactly. Oh. It is. It's the new rule. I mean, I've never really thought about it because everyone's clearly bundled up in layer after layer of clothing. And you've got to withstand like Everest, not like figurative, literal Everest winds and temperatures. And now, that's the new rule. Just the thought of that, just because it never melts up there, it's never warm enough. So it's all just this perfectly pristine Snickers bars all the way up and down the mountain.
That's going to ruin the iconic photograph you get to take when you finally reach the summit and you make it to the top. And you're holding up the flag, and you have the poop bag in your hand.
I hope someone does that sooner
Takes
than later.
away the magic.
Yeah, next year in the spring when people are going, I really would love to see that.
Well, there's no such thing as the poop fairy. Yeah.
That's very true.
Oh.
Take care of it yourself.
Did you hear about Mike? He summited with 3 bags. Yeah, he had quite a day that day.
Man.
Totally crazy. By the way, it's also making people sick. When the snow does melt, it does melt a little bit. Then the water, you get some water flow because it's not just the summit, it's all the way from base camp up. And so some of that does melt in the summer months. It gets in the water. Particles are blown around in the air where people are breathing. I mean, it's so much that they're talking about air particles.
God, it's covered in corpses and feces.
Yeah, exactly. Not to mention the fact that there's also dead bodies.
Uh-huh.
Wow. Yeah, that's something. I remember watching the first time one of those Everest shows popped up, and it was the guy from New Zealand who was the tour guide, and he would take people. And like Zepp said before the break, Everest used to be, a few people a year would try it, and they're just they are deep, heavy-duty adventurers. This is what they do. I remember watching that show on Nat Geo or History Channel, whatever it was, the Everest summits. And there was a guy from L.A. who was a cab driver, and he had a bad knee. I don't know, man. I just really wanted to see if I could do it. And I'm like, okay, that's no different than saying the Yankees are going to put you in as DH in Game 7. I haven't swung a bat in 31 years, but let me see what happens.
Right.
Completely insane.
Yeah, it is. I mean, they have a death zone up there. It's become so accessible and affordable for the wealthier sector that I kind of feel like Everest has jumped the shark. I think we all remember the images a few years ago when they were just all packed up there. There was some guy that was having a problem up there in the death zone where you can't breathe and need the oxygen, and they had to evacuate him, but they couldn't get him down because it was so packed.
Too many
the
people.
line getting up there. Yeah, it was obscene to watch, and now it's getting just absurd.
Yeah, I forgot one thing. They're estimating 3 tons of human excrement on the path. 3 tons.
What are Sherpas for? Aren't they
6,000 pounds?
Let the Sherpas pick it up. Aren't they really kind of like the pet owners and the climbers are the pets, the rich pets? They have to.
But in this case, the Sherpas are. Do it without a Sherpa. Good luck to you. I mean, those guys. Edmund Hillary, when he went up, what's the guy's name? Torgay, Ensign Torgay, the first Sherpa. Yeah. He got there first. I mean, Edmund Hillary gets the credit, but the Sherpa was a step in front. He was in front of him. If memory serves, I believe that's the story. Those guys do that without oxygen. I mean, they're just
Tenzing Norgay.
That's it, Tenzing Norgay. That's it. Yeah. Let's go. It's interesting too because I look at those Everest shows and I watch the people involved, and it's like every one of those summits is like the movie Speed, like this incredibly intense situation that you don't count on, and it just seems to go when you get down from it. And I look at people because you have men and women, and I always wonder like how many of those couples do they hook up when they get back down? They're back down and they did it together. You share such an intense experience. That's going to open up some pathways to some interesting conversations. You don't really need. There's not a lot of flirting, is my point. You're like, we just did that together. What are we talking about? Let's just get after it.
I wonder if anyone, human beings being what they are, has knocked off a piece up at the top of Everest. They're just up there. They're like, here we are. We did it. A lot of people now have done it. It's the how many miles high? The 7 mile high club or whatever. Kidding. I mean, just tried to. I suppose maybe that's physically not.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
No, not. Are you sure? Because now I kind of want to try it.
I don't know.
I want to get up there and just whack off at the top of Everest.
People get it. People get to the top of Everest. They're up there for just like a couple of minutes. It's like and more people die on the way down than on the way up.
That's right.
They get up there and they're, what could be worse than doing it, but then on the way down, you expire.
Yeah.
I guess for those folks, that's kind of like, that would actually be better. It's like, well, at least I made it. And it's like, yeah, great. We got a photo of you, I guess.
Right. That's the thing. You used to come down. I mean, Everest, you were one of the great explorers. You came down and you went on a talking tour and people were in awe of you. Now your CEO boss comes, I climbed Everest. Yeah. Okay, great. It's just become, like I said, I think it's jumped the shark a little bit. Still an amazing feat of endurance and strength and will, but too many people are doing it. You see that in what I'm going to use in quotations here, the extreme sports. I like to find a good thrill. I like to get out and do those things. And you really had to, live a bit on the edge to do some of those things because we're all just kind of figuring, not we as in I was some sort of pioneer, but, I've been into it for 30 or 40 years. Now it's really become commercialized, like everything, hunting and motorcycle ride, every a little pastime here in America. I'm going to use exploited in not the worst connotation, and monetized it and everything else. I think about going in a hunting store. It was a hunting section in the back of a department store, and you went back there and you had which flannel am I going to get and which wool pants am I going to wear. Now you have these cathedrals of hunting stores out there. So things have just, I don't know what the last extreme frontiers are out there, but when I have to start picking up my poop on the way to the Everest, I just feel like, you know what, maybe I'm going to go, I don't know, sit on my pontoon and go fishing instead.
Probably so. I can't imagine. I agree with you. By the way, there are other summits that no one's ever gotten to the top of because it's too. Yeah. Let's get back to that. I mean, there's a few that you can't get to. So let me see that thrill seeker. Everest is old hat. I say that as a guy who, you give me a mile and a half of switchbacks at sea level, and I'm like, I can't believe what the human body can endure. It's incredible. By the way, going back, speaking of flirting, we flirt for 6 different reasons. Anybody want to argue this? First things first. Well, you just want to hook up. I think we all can get that. We're just having fun. That's one. Here's another one. We're exploring just to kind of figure out what it might be like to date the person we're flirting with. Here's another one. We're just trying to increase intimacy. Don't know about that. We're trying to boost our own self-esteem. Sure. That's 90% of the flirting, I think, is you're just trying to see if just trying to make yourself feel good that you still remember how to speak to somebody. Or here's the last one. We're trying to manipulate the other person.
Oh, and giving you a raise?
Something. Guys like to be direct. Women prefer open-ended questions. How about that? Men prefer straightforward lines like, you're cute, can I buy you a drink? Women prefer when a guy opens with a question like, hey, what team are you rooting for?
No, I prefer direct.
Yeah, I was curious about that.
Get to the point. Really? I don't have all day. I got stuff to do.
Don't want an interesting conversation. Just want to get it on.
Yeah, just
right.
Get
That's
to
not flirting. That's negotiating. Yeah.
So you'd rather have a guy come right up and say, "Hey, can I buy you a drink? Let's get to know each other a little bit." You don't want to see a guy come up and go like, "I couldn't help but notice those boots. Fantastic. Is that Italian leather?" I mean, what? No. Okay, fair enough.
You just did it, man. You made her laugh. That's what you do. Open with a laugh and you're halfway home.
Oh, heck yeah. I learned early on, with this nose, I better be funny. Men overestimate how interested women are. No kidding.
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
I mean, there's the studies that, over 50% of men think, yes, I could land a plane if need be. Of course we overestimate how interested women are.
Yeah. The best thing I often thought about dating, and I, dated for about 30 years of my adult life, was not very good at it, apparently, was that the best thing I had going for me was other guys. Guys are just so bad at, they just have no idea. You're in your own little bubble, and it's all about you, and women see through that pretty quickly, and every once in a while, they'll give you the pity date or something like that. But yeah, guys, just the things that dick pics alone prove that men don't know what the hell's going on.
That's very true.
That do that, they just, she doesn't want to see it. She might get around to it eventually, but women aren't out there looking at that going, man, that really gets me worked up. He's the one for me. Look at that wiener.
You can go really far in life by just shutting up. And letting the dudes around you continue to talk.
Yeah. Simple question and let her talk, and you're on your way, brother.
Jeff Cesario always used to say for people moving to Los Angeles, he goes, if you just simply think before you answer a question, take 2 seconds and look like, that's a good question. Let me think about that. He goes, if you do that in L.A., within a year, you can run a cult. People will go like, this guy's got some deep insight. There's something special about this guy.
True.
He goes, just pause before you speak. That's all it takes out here. That's literally all it takes. Women, on the opposite, by the way, they underestimate how interested a man might be in them. So you've got the complete. Women will often not even realize. I'm just going off this study. These scientists, doctors come up with, not doctors, but like university professors who look into this kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. Women won't even realize the guy's flirting because they just assume, there's no way he'd be interested in me. They're just being nice.
I don't know. I asked Maria out like 5 times, and then finally she's like, "Are you serious?" I'm like, "Yes. Every time I've asked you to go out with me, I've been serious." She said, "Oh, I didn't think you were being serious." I'm like, "Nope. When a guy asks to go out, he's being 100% serious. It's never a joke. Never now. No, I was just kidding around. I don't want to go out with you." Mm-hmm. But yeah, women. I always just thought it was the hard to catch thing that they had going on. I'm like,
how did you ask though? Was it like, we should get together sometime?
Well, first time out, dick pic. Right,
of course. There you go.
I'm like, need I say more? How's that for an invitation, right? Just follow it right back to me. I don't know. No, I did it. I mean, first of all, we met on Match. So there was a whole thing there. That was the thing I kind of gave her grief about. I'm like, we're on Match.com, where you ask people out. Oh, yeah, I guess. But no, not I guess. This isn't a casual conversation on the light rail. So I think I asked in... I don't know, a fairly gentlemanlike way. I wasn't brutish about it, like, hey, we should hook up or something like that. But, she just wasn't buying it.
Guys tend not to flirt with the most beautiful woman in the room. They generally, because they're intimidated. You see a lot of...
that must be why guys never flirt with me.
That's exactly right.
You're intimidating as hell.
Generally, what guys are looking for, and I think this checks out. Guys tend to flirt with a woman who makes direct eye contact. Whoever's making the most eye contact, that's going to be. It's that simple. Like
she looked at me.
Yeah, exactly. That's all it takes. I mean, all of this adds up to guys are just toddlers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just do this. Just stare at a dog for a second. That dog will what? Make eye contact? Huh?
Yeah.
Are you looking at me? Jump up and come right to you.
Sure.
Guys are no different.
That's very true. I definitely responded always to, like, in a situation, if all I was looking for was someone who wasn't trying to be, I was guilty of this, and then, but at a certain age, everyone's just too cool. Everyone's so cynical. Everyone's over it. And I can remember very specifically moments where I'd be chatting with somebody and suddenly realize, like, oh, we're just actually talking. And then as soon as I would remove even a thought of, let's see where this goes, then all of a sudden I wanted it to go somewhere. I was never good at the playing the game. In fact, I was abjectly horrible at it because I just, I'm like, but I had friends. I did have male friends dudes that would just walk into a room and within 10 minutes, like a woman is so engrossed in whatever their story they're weaving, and I'd be like, this guy's boring as hell. What's happening? He has no good stories. He's not funny. All I had was a bit of a sense of humor and height. That's what I had going for me.
Yeah, the height thing. Yeah, that works for you. Women like the tall guys, for sure.
That was it. And then of course, this voice, this gift from the gods. I think
yes.
I think I sense in you a subtle ennui. What's wrong? You can tell me. Nah,
stop it.
Not my. But no,
you stop it.
And pull out a pipe, light it up.
Candace, you're kind of getting turned on, aren't you?
No, no.
She's conflicted. She doesn't want to feel this way about a coworker. What's happening?
It's the way he said ennui.
That sounds like a naughty word, doesn't it? Ennui.
It certainly does.
Like something like my mother would go, Brian Earl. Stop it.
Earl, you
I know.
Hey,
it's a grandfather's name. What can you say? I didn't like it as a kid, but I'm getting used to it. So yeah, I would not use my middle name in a flirting situation.
Was there ever was Bez ever a nickname? Anybody ever try to lay that on you? Your initials?
Only when we had Pez. There was Pez and Bez.
That's what I was picturing. I was picturing like some Pez shtick.
No, I had a buddy, Perry, something middle name E, and his last name started with a Z as well. I better not say his local guy, but yeah. So it was Bez and Pez. It was stupid.
Yeah.
I kind of want to get along. Back to flirting. Actually, we got to get along. We've got a guest coming up here. I'll be honest with you. When I saw ABC News contributor and ESPN analyst Ryan Smith was joining us here near the top of the hour, I thought, oh, yeah, Super Bowl stuff. No. Far more fascinating than that. Launching an 8-episode limited series, Bad Romance. This is a true crime series. We're going to talk to Ryan Smith about that before 8 o'clock. Don't run off. Hang tight.
It's the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS. Zep, Tony, Candace, and Steve Gorman are the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. In just a few minutes, we're going to be joined by Ryan Smith. You probably know him from ESPN, but he is calling to discuss a new 8-episode true crime series that launched Monday, January the 22nd. It's called Bad Romance. And oh man, people are really bad at romance, or they're good at romance and bad at maintaining the relationship. A lot of true crime involving what starts off as a lot of love. We'll be talking with Ryan Smith in just a few moments about that. But first, I believe we have a caller on the KQ Talk and Text line. Candace,
Sandy from Shoreview.
Sandy, good morning.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Very well. Thank you for asking. What do you got for us?
Well, my husband and I have been married for about 27 years, and we were at a local establishment, and we were sitting at the bar. And we had ordered our food, and our food came, and I was having a salad, and we were just having, regular conversation, and a gentleman walks up to the bar and looks over at me and goes, "Hey, is that salad any good?" And we started having a conversation, and it probably lasted about 5 or 10 minutes, and the gentleman got his beer, and he left, and my husband looked over at me and goes, "He was flirting with you, right?" I went, "No, he wasn't." And he goes, yeah, he was. I go, "Really? Would he really flirt with me, with you sitting next to me?" And my husband went, "Yeah, some guys just don't matter whether or not a woman is with her husband or not."
Sure. Well, let me ask you this: how was that salad?
I could have used a good tossing, I think.
I mean, as long as we're just two people here talking, you and me.
Yeah. He's not very good at flirting. He's bold. Do you think he was drunk? I mean, did he appear like he was stammering a little bit? I mean, not that it would take a drunk man to flirt with you, Sandy, but I'm just saying that is pretty bold at the dinner table with your husband, even for a dorky guy.
And that's what I thought. It was just like he was just having, so how's the salad? So like open-ended questions. It's like, oh yeah, I fell for it, hook, line, and sinker.
Wow.
Yeah,
fell for the salad talk, missed out on the flirting. That guy needs to work on his game.
Maybe he's investigating vegetarianism.
Could have been.
I mean, that gets to it, doesn't it? Women never know when guys are flirting because we're so bad at it. And guys, every time a woman, just says, "Oh, are you having a nice day?" I mean, we think that she wants to leap on us and tear our clothes off.
Well, again, I said, over half of men surveyed say, yeah, if in a pinch, if need be, I think I could land a plane. That guy's literally like, she's there with her husband. I think I can make this happen. Yeah.
You're supposed to wait till he goes to the bathroom, the husband, and then you make your move. Come on.
Really?
Exactly. Nope. It was just my husband and I. It's just like, it was like, wow. And, like I said, 27 years, and maybe I forgot how flirting was, but, it was just like, no, he wasn't flirting with me.
Sandy, thank you for the call. We appreciate you listening.
Thank you.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
It's a wonder we ever get together, men and women,
I was, Rosemary and I were at a bar in like 1989, and this was when we were not a couple. That's what she used to say. Because we were just friends. We'd hang out, and she would see that look I'd be getting in my eye, and she'd be like, "Hey, just chill out." But the one time she kind of got in my face about it because there was a dude in Atlanta at the time who was like the Channel 5 sports guy. He's the sports guy.
Right.
And he walked in the bar, and I recognized him right away. I'm like, that's that sports guy who's on Channel 5. And he was tall. He was taller than me. He's like 6'5", big dude. And he came by, and he gave he kind of glanced over her way as she looked up at him. And then he did the look back again. And then she looked back at him. But she was looking like, what are you looking at, doofus? He was, and then he kept going, and then I just got under my craw. I was like, what are you making eyes at the sports douchebag for? She's like, who's the sport? That guy, that tall guy, he's a TV guy. I'm like, oh, you didn't know who he was. And she's literally like, I've lived in town for like 2 months. I don't watch local news sports. And I had this whole thing. And then he came, and that guy walked by later and he had a beer in his hand, and he walked by, he looked right, he goes, how you doing tonight? How's your night? And I'm right there. I'm like, hey, dude. And she wasn't interested in him at all, but she totally was like, you don't have to protect me in a book. I'm like, it's just rude. We're obviously here together. She goes, yeah, but this isn't a date. And then we have this whole semantics about what's cool, what's not, protocol. And I was like,
see, then that happened for a reason.
All I was thinking was, I cannot wait to never see this girl again.
Oh my God, you're such a jerk face.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you, sometimes you feel like you're damned if you do and damned if you don't.
Sure.
Yeah, if someone's flirting, I can see the guys. They'll slow down their walk and they'll give the look and hope that maybe she'll give the look. And then when I leave, they can move in kind of thing. And I'm kind of at that point in my life where, I don't really care. If you're going to leave with a guy while I'm in the bathroom, then at least I don't have to pay the tab or, whatever, pay the check on your way or whatever. But then it's like, oh, don't you care that he's flirting? I'm like, why are you thinking about acting upon it? Well, no, but you could care a little bit. But then if you care too much, now you're just being a insecure jerk.
Maybe the guy thought you were a brother or a co-worker. You don't know.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe he thought she took pity on me. Now that I'm looking back, I'm like, I'm sure I was dressed in natty attire at best.
Oh, I remember standing at Bullwinkle's one time, and I have this beautiful date that I'm with, and we're both standing at the bar, and this guy comes up, and he cuts right between me. We're only standing maybe a foot apart, and he kind of wedges right between me, so I'm looking at his back, and he's looking at her, and he's blah, 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 and I flick the back of his ear, give him the old ear flick. He turns around and says, what the hell?
Yeah.
Like, dude, do you mind? I'm here with my gal, and he goes,
yeah.
When I looked at her and I looked at you, I just assumed you two weren't together. I'm like, wow, you're lucky I'm not drunk on whiskey, dude.
Pretty bold.
No kidding. Yeah. That's pretty strong. I want to go back real quick, Candace. Jerk face? I think we have a phone. I think we have someone on the phone, Candace. Who we got?
We have Ted from St. Cloud.
Ted, what's up, brother?
Hey, I just want to say that, with this whole flirting thing, you got to remember, if nobody ever looked at your spouse, your girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, if nobody ever looked at her, you probably wouldn't have either. There's some real merit to that.
Sure.
Thanks.
And I've had that happen where people have hit on my wife, and I just try to, take it in stride unless everybody's drunker than $7,000. Then it's a whole different ballgame.
Fair enough. Very good point. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, there's a man that's secure not only with himself, but in his relationship. And that's really what it's all about.
Yeah.
Guys that get way too worked up because another guy is hitting on their girlfriend, especially if they get upset with their wife or girlfriend. Yeah, that's insecurity.
That's
well, the thing that my story was, it was early days and we didn't have clearly defined. That was really more the beef. Because now I'm just remembering that several times that has happened where after Rosemary and I were actually a couple and, guy would just come up and literally be chatting her up, and I would just think it's the funniest thing in the world. Just like, dude, go for it, man. Good luck to you. Mm-hmm. Yeah. This is nothing but captivating entertainment for me right now.
This happened to me recently, kind of. So I went to lacrosse with this guy that my boyfriend. So I went there with him, and we were.
I'm sorry, what was that? I couldn't hear.
He's feeling great.
I'm worried about my image. Okay.
Lacrosse.
Anyway.
Huh?
So we were watching this band. They were really great, and we were totally like dancing, like really intimate, dancing, kissing, and whatever. And
grinding.
the guy
grinding what it is.
Yep, bump and grind. And then when I got home, the drummer started messaging me on Instagram. Very like kind of, what do you do? Like you live in Minneapolis. Like what do you like to do? Whatever. And then the minute he's like, so then why did you come here? And the minute I said that I came here to see my boyfriend's show, he was like. He didn't respond.
Yeah, radio silence. You bring up a good point. When you're getting into a relationship, when do you start to fess up to other people about it? Are you into it enough to declare that I'm in a relationship and then scare off that wonderful single life that you had?
R.I.P.
No, I think declaring the relationship is, of course, the best thing you can do at a certain age. If I'd known the power of a wedding ring when I was 19, I would have had dates like crazy. The second you slide that thing on, suddenly you're the most handsome man in the room. Let me see if I can ruin both our lives, mine and his. It's crazy how that works.
Yeah.
So anyway, momentarily, Ryan Smith is going to call in. Again, this show is called Bad Romance. It's I love the fact that it follows The Bachelor Monday nights on ABC. And some of these stories, it's been on for a few weeks now, and some of these stories you may remember just the headlines anyway, but this is more like a deep dive. The Bad Romance you got stories of shocking and surprising romance stories from the last decade. And I imagine, if this is going to turn into one of those things where, if Ryan Smith is on the phone, then you've done screwed up in a big way. I think it's pretty safe to say. I don't know if we're actually going to have him right now. There's a little trouble with the phone line is what I'm hearing.
Dag nabbit.
Dag. Going.
I thought we're going back into Devo.
No, I will say there's nothing better going back to watching guys flirt with my wife. Sometimes this would happen in like backstage at a Black Crowes gig. She would she'd be in the dressing room. And, like the show, 20, 30 minutes after the show, it's filled up with friends. And then friends bring friends. And then invariably somebody would come over and I'd just be like, this is great. Wait till this guy figures out who she is. Okay, we do have Ryan Smith now on the horn. Congratulations to everybody who put this together. Ryan Smith from ESPN and also from ABC's Bad Romance is with us on the KQ Morning Show. Good morning, Ryan.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm all right, thank you, sir. I know you from ESPN, so I was surprised when you popped up on Bad Romance. This is, I guess, concurrently kind of fun and kind of creepy.
It is a little bit of both. But, the little secret, the dirty little secret about me is I'm actually a lawyer by training. And so for years, even before I started doing sports, I was doing trials and cases and things like that and criminal cases, and so this is right up my alley. It's true crime. It comes on Bad Romance comes on right after The Bachelor on Mondays. Mm-hmm. And once you see love blossom, you see what happens when love falls apart. And we got another story for you this week.
I love the writing. It says you're going to visit crime scenes, interview individuals at the center of some of the most twisted and obsessive love stories. Good Lord. So you've got a good one this week. What can you tell us about it?
Oh, man, this week it's called Tangled Web. And this is one of these situations where a mechanic in Nebraska, was dating somebody casually off and on. You know how that is. Mm-hmm. He ends up meeting another woman named Carrie Farver. They get together. They have a relationship, and then she disappears. Then all of a sudden, guys, Dave, this mechanic, he's getting text messages, not in the hundreds, in the thousands. Friends of his are getting all these text messages from this woman who's now missing, saying, I've decided to travel the world, I'm living this life, but it just disappeared. It all becomes twisted. Everybody's wondering what's going on because this woman has disappeared, but she's sending these text messages. Mm-hmm. Finally, it turns out that it's not actually her sending them.
Sure.
And the twist is one you won't believe, but it ends up in a woman going missing and never found again.
That's horrifying and yes, perfectly weird. So Bad Romance comes on. I love the fact that it follows The Bachelor. Just a little, you got the before and after right there. 1, 2, boom.
Yep, exactly.
So you've spent a lot of time in courtrooms. Were you ever involved in any kind of cases like this where it was a couple that had separated or someone was missing? Were you ever in something as heavy as this as an attorney?
Oh, my gosh, not like this as an attorney, but in the cases I've covered, in the courtroom trials I've covered, I've seen them. I've seen them a lot. And you would be surprised at what people do when they are jilted in love. It happens all the time. And I say to people all the time, they're like, what kind of people do these kinds of things, especially when it's a situation like this? Mm-hmm. I tell them, it's the kind of people you would never expect. Because when somebody gets their heart broken or somebody gets jilted, they do that. You and me, we might get upset. We might cross the line every once in a while. But there's a lot of people out there who really cross the line. And that's when it becomes criminal sometimes.
Yeah, if somebody who's never had anything go wrong at a certain age, when something does go wrong, they don't have the, if you haven't screwed up enough to figure out how to manage it, that's usually, because you always hear like, he was always such a nice guy. And it's like, because nothing ever went wrong. So when it did, he didn't have the tools to deal with it.
Yeah, it's also those thoughts. You know how when something goes bad with another person, you have those thoughts. It's not the thoughts we would ever admit to everybody else out there, but you have those thoughts that are like, I should do this. Maybe I should do that. But we don't act on them. Well, there are people out there who act on them. It happens a lot. Hey, we have a whole classification in law, second-degree murder, for heat of passion murder. That's essentially second degree, a little less than premeditated murder. But the whole concept around it was there were so many situations in relationships where people did things to kill other people in the heat of passion. So they had to create a whole category for it. That tells you it's not something that's necessarily rare. It happens in relationships.
Okay, hang on. I'm writing this down. This is good information for me to have. Heat of passion is a real thing. Got it. All right.
Explore that, Steve.
Is this what so far of the episodes that have already aired that people have had a chance to look at? What's your favorite one? What's the craziest one so far? I don't want to do any spoilers.
My favorite one is the first one we had. People can go back and watch these because they're streaming on Hulu.
Yeah.
But my favorite one, I would have to say, is the first one. It's called Family Feud because a guy shows up on Family Feud with his family, and he's asked by Steve Harvey a question, something like, "What's the weirdest thing that makes you that you hate about marriage?" And he says something really kind of creepy and cryptic of, "I should have gotten married in the first place." This is on national television.
I know that story. Yeah, I remember that story.
You know this story?
Yeah.
His wife ends up dead, and he ends up getting convicted for it. It's a story that I tell everybody, you got to see this.
Yeah.
Because it really is, you couldn't script it like this, and that's the way so many of our cases are.
It's an amazing thing. I can just see a guy on a witness stand saying, "I don't know. I caught Steve Harvey's eye and my mask just fell. It was the strangest moment of my life."
Exactly. It's just, you wouldn't believe the stories I've seen, you guys. I'm not even kidding.
Yeah, people. It's amazing too because there's so many courtroom lawyer TV shows. From LA Law to Suits and everything in between. But in real life, in real courtrooms, people aren't very good at all at lying and covering their tracks, are they?
Not at all. And the funniest thing is people always ask me, like, why is true crime so popular? Why do people watch this?
Right.
I think because so much of it is stuff that, we not only see like a train wreck happening in many times, but it's also like so much of it is you start watching it. And I do this, I confess I do this sometimes when I cover these cases. I'm like, wow, I could see how I would feel upset or angry if I was in this person's situation. But would I do it like this? Why did he do it like that? Mm-hmm. Why did this happen this way? And you start realizing that when people are in the heat of something, they have no real ability to plan in the way they think they could, or it's never going to go down exactly as they thought it was going to happen. And I hear that so many times when I go to prisons, talk to people who've been convicted of crimes. They're like, yeah, that's not what I expected to happen, or I don't know how this happened. That's a common refrain among people who do things that you just can't believe.
Yeah, I don't think of anybody as a criminal mastermind if I've ever heard of them.
Yeah, I've only met a few. Not many. But people I've met, that's not normal.
The true masterminds never get caught. That's how I think of you as a mastermind. If you never make the paper, you're doing something right there. Ryan Smith is hosting Bad Romance. It's a show that there's 8 of these. Is that correct? 8 episodes.
There's 8 of them.
Yeah. Are you guys looking for a second season, or is that too? Or we don't know yet.
No, we don't know yet. We're hoping for it. I mean, the response has been great. People are watching it in droves on Hulu and on ABC on Monday nights. So it's like, it's going great so far. We'd love to keep telling these stories as long as people are interested in hearing them.
Ryan Smith, you're a Syracuse guy.
I am.
My nephew, Matt Gorman, a freshman with Carmelo Anthony on that championship team.
Whoa. I know that name. I think I know his name. I think I remember his name.
Yeah,
wow.
big fan favorite, slow-footed, big, tall white guy who just banged bodies with the best of them for 5 years up in Syracuse.
We always have those guys at Syracuse. We need more Matt Gorman.
I and all of his other uncles kept telling him, "You're a Big Ten kid. Don't go there. That 1-3 zone, you'll never get on the court." And he didn't care.
That's right.
He's from Watertown. Jim Boeheim was God. What is he going to say? No.
He was.
Yeah, these things happen. All right. So, but you do, like I said, I know you as an ESPN guy. So what do you think of the game Sunday?
I'm going with the Chiefs. Now, keep in mind, when I was asked this question a couple of weeks ago, I told everybody it's going to be Ravens and Lions, no doubt.
Me too. So, I said the same thing.
I think it's because I wanted to see that game, but we didn't get it.
Yeah.
So I feel like I don't mean to jinx the Chiefs, but I will say this. I just think that, first of all, San Fran struggled all throughout the playoffs, and that's not a good sign. But more than that, I just feel like in the biggest moments, despite what they're missing on offense, despite the wideouts not being up to snuff in terms of a Super Bowl-type wideout group for Kansas City, I just think that in the biggest moments, these guys rise to the occasion. And I'm talking Reed, Kelsey, Mahomes, and those guys on defense. The defense is better this year than they've ever been. So to me, it's like I just can never bet against them. Every time I bet against them, I lose. And when it comes to the Super Bowl, I just think they got it. I think it's going to be close, 27-24, but I think they're going to be the winner.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's that would be as high a score as I was imagine. I think they're going to keep it down. Yeah, watching the Chiefs this season, it's like watching Apollo 13. They're like, how did you figure that out? What? I can't believe it. So that's
it's amazing. But can I tell you something that Coach Herm Edwards told me? He told me the one thing that people don't realize about Patrick Mahomes, when he was struggling all year with those wideouts, what he was really doing was testing the whole time with the Super Bowl in mind, saying, who can I trust? Who can I trust? Going to him. So while it looks messy, what it really is a genius quarterback finding out who he can trust when it really counts. And I think he's got that group now.
Sounds like a criminal mastermind in the making to me. Mahomes, he's ahead of the curve. Hey, Ryan, thanks for calling in, man. All the best.
All the best to you guys. Take care.
See ya.
You know who I'm going with? You know who really influenced? And I can't remember the cat's name, but I just read the story yesterday. I'll pull up the story, but he's this guy that has claims, and it keeps, recycling every year, claims he's picked 16 straight years Super Bowl losers. In other words, the team that he predicts that's going to win has lost 16 years in a row. And this year,
strong.
This year he picked the Chiefs.
Oh, boy. There you have it. Hey, to tee it up, golf card number 3, that's our final card for 2024, goes on sale today at 9 a.m. You're going to be able to golf 7 area courses and save over $200 while you do it if you get the final golf card. Get yours at 92kqrs.com at 9 a.m. You can search the keyword golf.
Game show time this morning. Here in about 10 minutes, we need a couple of callers, 9 and 2, 651-989-ROCK. This morning we're playing a Super Bowl of trivia for a chance to win tickets to, I got to say it like this, it's important, 92KQRS presents Rob Zombie and Alice Cooper, Sunday, August 25th at the Xcel Energy Center. Prize provided by Live Nation. Tickets are on sale now. Our runner-up this morning, Firehouse and Suite, Saturday, February 10th at the Medina. Thank you to the Medina Entertainment Center. 651-989-ROCK. Dial up. Good luck and hang tight.
Connect with us on the KQ Talk and Text line. 651-989-ROCK. That's 651-989-ROCK. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. I don't know how many times I have to hear Somebody to Love by Queen before I stop thinking about how awesome it is. My God, what a song. What a performance. What a everything. Thanks, Fred Mercury. What if he was Fred Mercury, not Freddie Mercury?
Bravo. Yeah, wouldn't be as cool.
I wish he was still alive.
Yeah, that would be kind of nice.
It's like telling a crazy story about your buddy John. He's got to be John. Johnny, I mean. Yeah. Or Jim. It's got to be Jimmy. If it's endearing, if it's bigger than life, you got to throw on the E at the end, I think.
Bill Idol.
Bill Idol.
Bill, yes, it's Billy. He's not a Bill. He's a Billy. But you know what? I do regret we had the guest on now. I'm forgetting our guest name.
Ryan Smith.
No, I'm talking about the roadie from Northwest that was the Northwestern that was the football player talking about Queen in Montreal.
Yeah.
And it was at the IMAX just that weekend. They're going to bring that back to IMAX. I want to see it at IMAX. I never got out that weekend. I got busy. And I'm sure they'll stream it here. It might already be streaming, but I want to see that in IMAX, that Montreal Queen show.
Yeah, when your singer's name is Freddie, you get Queen. When they go with Fred, you get Limp Bizkit. See the difference?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can't even believe I know that douchebag's name. All right, hey, anyway, that's just one man's opinion.
It's the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS.
Oh, John, that's right. You had a story for us.
Johnny?
Real quick, we were this back, I guess, early 2000s. Went to First Avenue to have some drinks with a buddy, and somehow we were able to get a pretty good booth, which also got us the attention of girls. And so it wasn't long before we had a couple that wanted to talk and sit with us. So half hour goes by. I ran to the bar to get 4 beers, and I came back, and there's just 2 giant men standing at our table, and I thought, shit, what did Dan get into now? And anyway, I got closer, and it turns out the Wolves weren't playing that night, so Tom Gugliotta and there was another guy. Anyhow, they were over there drinking, and he basically CB'd us, and stuck us with the bill and left with the girls.
Wow.
Oh, man.
Yeah, a lot of fringe benefits to playing in the NBA. You just don't even think about.
Paul Grant was the other guy, and I looked at him, and he kind of grinned at me like maybe this guy kind of does this more than once.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like it was a couple of DJ losers like Tony and I or something like that. I mean, they were legit NBA players. You can't blame the chicks for upgrading.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I suppose they're normal. They're just like the rest of us.
Yeah, man. Googs had game. I mean, Googs had game on and off the court, apparently. So, hey, John, congrats for winning those tickets. Well played. Thanks for the story, brother.
All right. Thank you, guys. Have a good day.
We'll see you.
Super Bowl fact.
Right.
Super Bowl weekend is the slowest weekend of the year for weddings. That makes sense, doesn't it? Can you imagine getting married on Super Bowl Sunday? Oh. God, I thought the guys would show up for sure. Maybe just no one in the parking lot. Should we?
Well, it's a real thing down south where college football is king. Where an autumn Saturday wedding is an incredibly risky proposition for people in the South because you're asking people to not watch the Tide. We got Mississippi State this week. You see stuff on social media every year, like relentless. I know so many people that are like, I can't believe I have a wedding this adults, people in their 50s, like this. You got to be kidding me. I cannot believe what was my niece thinking. People lose their minds.
Yeah, like the deer opener. I had a buddy get married. He doesn't hunt deer. He's a city kid. Yeah, not that all city kids don't hunt, but yeah, he got married on opening weekend. I'm like, I'm not going to be there, man. No one's going to. What the hell were you thinking? And I did not know this. I'm sure you guys knew this. Steve, you know a lot of things like this. The Super Bowl actually got its name after Kansas City Chiefs owner Lamar Hunt saw his daughter playing with a Super Ball.
Right.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
It's the Super Bowl is on display in the Hall of Fame.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
19 million people will miss work on Monday. That's the national. That's the estimate. There will be the result of that is $9 billion in lost productivity.
We got money up the ass. The other 320 million going to work aren't going to be doing a damn thing anyway.
That's a very good. That's very true. $1.3 billion is the amount that will be legally wagered on the game. Legally. Yeah, man, that's incredible. 50 million cases of beer will be sold for Sunday. Man, it truly is a national. It should be a national holiday. We really should have Monday off or put the game on Saturday. Agreed. One or the other. Mm-hmm. I think it should be Monday off. I think the fact that it's on Sunday, it would really be weird. As much as I'd love to have, you think that they should just move it back a day so everybody doesn't miss work, so everybody can sleep in, et cetera, et cetera. It should be on Sunday. So therefore, like we said, we should bump it up one more week. President's Day week. What better way to honor George Washington and Abraham Lincoln than by playing the biggest game of the year and the most American sport of all of them the day before?
You, sir, are a patriot.
Yeah. I mean, right now, what do? We have bed sales, stuff like that. So, I mean, that's not, come on down for that. So, why not? I think that an upgrade is Super Bowl weekend for President's Day. Damn straight.
I can get on board with that.
All right, let's make it happen. I'm going to text someone.
If you are, if you had given any thought to attending this year's Super Bowl in Las Vegas, the lowest daily hotel rate in the metropolitan area was $399. I'm sorry, $299. So for $300, you could have gotten a hotel or a motel room in Las Vegas tomorrow night before the game. Does anyone want to imagine the state of that room?
Right.
Because $300 the night before the Super Bowl in Las Vegas means you're probably under a tarp.
Yeah, right. Or you could get it by the hour.
We've got
there's
tarps.
Going to be mirrors on the ceiling.
We're in a Motel 6, and there are tarps in the parking lot for you for $300.
They'll put you down there at Tent City. Everybody has a big Tent City now. Yeah, they'll get you into the Tent City for $300 a night. Well, I see that the average price of the Super Bowl ticket for the first time, the average price of a Super Bowl ticket for the first time ever topped six figures.
Oh my God! What?
Over 100. I forget what it was. $100,367. Let's say it was just over $100,000. The average going price for a Super Bowl ticket this year.
No.
Yeah.
No way it's six figures.
I'll track down I mean, that's on the resale market. It's not.
No, I got you.
Yeah, if you go into the ticket brokers or whatever,
the players
that's the average, not the lowest price.
I got you. Yeah. The players on both teams, you got 50 some odd players, so you got just call it 100. They all get a chance. Like the league gives them all, I want to say, I got to go back like 30 years, but I had a buddy on the Cowboys, and they were in the Super Bowl that was played in Atlanta in '94, and he got me tickets for that game because every player was given, it was either 10 or maybe a dozen tickets to the game, each player. And he said that, but like at their last practice in Dallas before coming into Atlanta for Super Bowl week, they're at the facility and a guy comes in and hands everybody, or in each player's locker, their envelope of tickets is right there waiting for them. And he said, you've never seen anything like you walk out of the facility and there's just a line of dudes in the parking lot with briefcases. Huh. All the guys because the players, it's like, yeah, my mom and dad, I'm going to give them tickets, but I'm selling the rest of these bad boys for, at that time, $5,000-$6,000 a piece.
Yeah.
And so you had guys on the team, for every quarterback and running back at that time who's making $1 million a year, a lot of those guys are a league minimum, and they'd get 10 Super Bowl tickets, and right there, there's up to $100,000 in cash. Holy. It's like the easiest decision those guys ever made. It's like
bing, bang, boom.
Yeah, like pretty incredible.
Quickly, I found the source, CBS. All right, so a small correction here. The average price actually about $12,000, unless CBS says here you count the suite tickets. According to the suite, some suite tickets are going for 7 figures. So when if you can find yourself into one of the suites, that bumps it up into over $100,000 on average in the stadium, including the $1 million suite tickets.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, that is.
All for a game that literally, as we said, all for a game that in 6 months, none of us will remember a play. I mean, unless there's a Leon Lett, unless there's because last year the Chiefs beat the Eagles in a game. I spent last year's Super Bowl build-up week in Phoenix. I was there doing this show from Radio Row. I was immersed in Super Bowl for a week. Came home, watched the game, went to sleep, came into the studio the next day, and by Tuesday morning, I couldn't remember a thing about the game. And right now, I mean, I had to look down and go, oh, yeah, Jalen. Oh, yeah, it was Mahomes Eagles. That was just last year. That was last year's. And if you ask me about 4 years ago when the Chiefs and the Niners played in Super Bowl 54, the same two teams, I Googled it. I was like, oh, that's right, Jimmy Garoppolo, Mahomes. But I don't remember a thing about the game other than those two teams were in it.
I think it's sensory overload, with the commercials and everything else, the pageantry, the halftime show. When it's all over, you watch the game, and sometimes, it's a hell of a game. We watched some pretty competitive Super Bowl games. I remember a stretch there, I want to say like 8, but it was probably like 4 or 5 that were just they were all blowouts. And you're like, is the Super Bowl ever going to be good again? It's gotten great again, the game itself. But, pregame on Sunday starts at 12:30, like 7 hours before the game or something like that. So, and then you add in a little party in here and there. River Butcher is headlining Acme Comedy Club. I love that name. First question, is that your real name? Maybe that's not appropriate to ask a performer if that's their real name or not, but I love that name, River Butcher. Going to join us a little bit later on in the 9 o'clock hour. I just found a list, 7 things about you that are unique. Every one of us has at least 7 things about us that are unique. It's weird. I like this list. Maybe we'll get in that at 9 o'clock. Hang tight.
Football!
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS. Zep, Tony, Candace, and Steve Gorman are the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It is Friday, February the 9th. We will be joined in studio by a comedian who's appearing at Acme this weekend. In about 25 minutes, River Butcher will be joining us. That should be a good time. In the meantime, yes, the big game is Friday, but today's kind of a big day too. Ladies and gentlemen, it's National Pizza Day. Yes. Seriously, who comes up with these? Well, who decides that? I guess the pizza makers all said, let's go with the Friday before the big game. National Pizza Day. Candace, will you eat pizza today?
Yes.
Were you already planning to, or is this just a sudden decision?
But I will probably get some Devani's now that it is now that I know for sure that it's been confirmed.
That makes sense. Domino's expects to sell 2 million pizzas for the Super Bowl this year. Domino's, that's one chain, is going to get 2 million pizzas. And the largest bump in sales, cheese pizza, is what goes through the roof come Super Bowl Sunday, which makes sense because people are ordering bulk for friends over at their house. And so, of course, you just go with cheese because, you don't have to ask any questions that way. It's cheese pizza. Just eat it. That's how I do it. I'd like to think that's how it is. Favorite toppings in America right now. Number one topping. Any guesses?
Pepperoni.
That's exactly right. And what's number 2?
Sausage.
Damn. Okay. What's number 3?
Mushrooms.
Nope. Extra cheese. Then mushrooms. And then chicken.
Ew.
No.
I hate that.
Who would
I mean,
pick
I love
chicken?
it. I'll eat it on there, but that's in the top 5.
Yeah. Number 5.
Man, this country's screwed up.
And the sixth most popular is now pineapple.
Really?
Yeah, I can dig it.
I don't mind pineapple. I'm not one of those guys who says you can't do that, but I can't believe it's number 6. Least favorite topping is anchovies. Yeah, boy.
Jay Giles.
What's that?
That album, I don't know. I grew up with the album No Anchovies.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that? It was the Love Stinks album. What album was that?
I can see it. I can see the album. I worked at a place, old pizza place, Fellini's, and a guy came in and ordered a slice with anchovies, and I kind of laughed, and I went, "Wait, really?" And because no one had ever done that, and sure enough, in the little fridge, one of the coworkers pulled out a tin of anchovies and laid them on the slice, and I was like, "You got to be kidding me!"
I'll do
Pizza Luce. You get the family size, or you get any size Caesar salad with the extra anchovies, and they give you a fistful. It's like someone just reaches in there with their hand, grabs the biggest handful of anchovies they can. I'm drooling right now.
I don't remember. It's been so long since I had an anchovy. I didn't like it when I had it, so I've never gone back to the well. Am I missing out on something?
It's just salt.
It's super
salt. Take
salty.
anything. Take a booger and just dip it in salt. That's an anchovy.
Huh. Fair enough.
It's just salty, super salty.
20% of Americans say they don't eat the crust. What the hell's wrong with you?
That's the best part.
Yeah.
Lazy.
I wouldn't say it's the
We'll
best
give it to the
part.
homeless.
But I will eat the crust if I have some ranch.
Ranch.
I gotta have
Stuffed.
ranch with my pizza.
Yeah. No. Okay. That makes you Candace. That's what makes you, Candace. You and that damn ranch on your pizza.
Could you pick a booger out of your nose, dip it in ranch, and eat it?
I could, but physically I could. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah. All right.
But you're a ranch girl.
situation.
That's one thing we know about Candace Wheeler. You think it's just fingerprints, but no, it's really the ranch that sets you apart. No, actually, that's not true at all. It's not that at all. But fingerprints do. DNA, fingerprints, these are very unique things. But check this out. There are 7 other things that all of us have that make us completely unique. Not just your fingerprints, not just your DNA. Did you know that your ears are entirely unique? Forensic scientists can use imaging software to scan your ears, and they can tell who you are with over 99% accuracy. They can identify a person solely by their ears. Eventually, they're suggesting you may be able to unlock your phone simply by raising it to your ear.
What?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you don't even have to get it that far. It just recognizes your face.
Well, of course, but for the person who needs one extra step of security, I guess. Here's another thing about you that is unique, and by you I mean all of us: body odor. The Army IDs soldiers by using thermal imaging to analyze 44 different compounds each body gives off. Last year, researchers for the first time in Japan were able to identify people solely from body odor using new artificial intelligence algorithm apps.
No way to hide anymore, is there? I mean, I
don't think there is.
They can smell us out. They can tell us by our ears. No more putting on the funny glasses with the big nose and the mustache. You can't. They can tell by your ears, and now by our stank.
That's exactly right. And then let's talk about that ass. Your butt actually is very unique. The way you sit is unique. Also in Japan, researchers have invented a pressure-sensitive pad with 360 sensors that can identify you.
You know what this tells me?
What does it tell you?
You've got way too many researchers in Japan. Why? Yeah. What is this good for? I mean, why are we identifying people through their butt?
Well, all I know is this. They can analyze the shape of your butt, how much you slouch, and how your weight is distributed. And they're thinking about applying this to answer your question, why do we need to know?
Yeah.
It could be useful in cars as an anti-theft device. Your car knows if it's your ass or someone else's ass in that seat.
That's cool.
To the Japanese researchers, I would like to offer an apology. That's actually freaking brilliant.
It's pretty cool.
It is. Yeah,
I like that. How about this?
But you know what? But I'm sorry, Steve. But in the movies where they cut off some guy's hand or his finger so they can use the fingerprint, now if someone wants to steal my car, they're going to have to cut my ass off.
Man,
I just take the car.
That's a pretty good point. Like, take the what is it? Well, I'm spacing on a leave the cannoli. There's a leave the cannoli.
Right.
Take
leave
the cannoli
gun,
line.
Leave the gun. Take the cannoli.
Take the cannoli. Take the ass. Get that ass in here. How about the way you walk? It's now apparently it's interesting. When I see myself walking, like if I see a video someone makes, I always just think, God, I am so awkward looking. Like when I see myself playing basketball. When I'm playing basketball, I feel Jordan-esque. I literally, I'm so smooth. And then when I see footage of me playing basketball, I'm like a small Kevin McHale. Just all elbows and weird pace, and my footwork is clumsy. I get the job done, but it's not like ballet. It's not like watching. It's not athleticism. And when I see myself walk, I'm like, oh man, what an awkward gait. And then I notice my son walks just the same. I see him walking, and I'm like, oh crap, he walks just like me. I'm so sorry. But now computers can identify by analyzing your stride, especially when people are running. This is just an interesting, but that makes sense. If you watch a lot of sports, they always say if you're watching an NBA game and everything's just a silhouette, like you can't see jerseys, you can't see faces, you can always tell you don't realize how much everybody is unique in how their body moves. Like if you put on a game from the 80s and it was Lakers Celtics, but you couldn't see anything but the outline of the people, you'd immediately go, oh, that's obviously Magic, that's obviously Bird, that's obviously, blah, blah, down the line, because people are actually very unique in that way. Fingernails are also not fingerprints, but fingernails.
Okay.
Researchers, this one is in India. They have identified people by looking at the tiny ridges and contours in their fingernails. Apparently, those are all also completely unique to each individual person. They can even do it if you're wearing nail polish, Candace.
Wow, that's
There's
incredible.
no hiding. Yeah.
Just saying. I mean, here it is. We always thought it was all about the fingerprints. There's a lot of other ways they can catch you when you have one of those crimes of passion we were talking about.
No, they'll never catch me running.
No. The key is to just walk away slowly. I mean, come on.
I don't think I've ever, in like 20 years or whatever it's been, I've known you. I don't think it's been that long, but a long time. It couldn't be 20 years, but I don't think I've ever seen you run, Candace.
Yeah, I don't.
You don't run ever?
I choose not to run.
I'll skip before I run.
Is there an origin story for this decision you've made, never to run?
Yeah, running the mile when I was in the second grade really traumatized me, Steve. So, I'm a hardcore cyclist.
Okay.
That's about it.
Okay. I thought you were going to say I'm a hardcore psycho because I led a PE class in second grade.
No, I just look really dumb. First of all, I have
life.
really, really short legs.
Okay.
So I already walk super slow. I almost waddle. So it's just not a good look running.
Right.
It just doesn't.
Well, I mean, you're self-aware. That's a big thing.
This is not the first time you've said you have really, really short legs. I just don't. I guess I don't pay enough attention to things.
Well, you can come in here in the break. My feet literally are not touching the ground right now.
Wow. but you're in that high chair.
Yeah.
Well, baby Candace,
morning.
Candace needs a high chair for radio time.
No, put her binky in.
Oh,
it's getting weird.
It's getting kind of weird
really
for
is.
Sure. So up in Calgary in Canada, a guy in town trying to boost his new business. His name is Alex Lee, and his business is the distribution of cocaine. He is a drug dealer, and like a lot of small time on the rise, stars on the rise drug dealers, not the brightest bulb on the tree. My man's been handing out business cards with his name and contact information, and he was in a casino in Calgary handing out business cards that had attached to them a tiny little free sample of cocaine in a tiny little baggie. And he's been handing them out to people. Hey, here you go. If you're looking for a little bit more of this. Yeah.
Random strangers. Cops gamble sometimes, too. Do-gooders.
Sure.
Yeah, right.
Alex Lee has been arrested. 60 grams of cocaine in individual packages, a digital scale. He had about $1,200 in cash. This is all just in his car. His actual name, Syed Ravazi. He's 30. 2 counts of drug trafficking. There's something about a guy. I mean, if I were in a casino and a guy walked up and said, hey, if you're looking for any of this, and handed me a free sample of drugs, I wouldn't investigate the drugs, but I would have to look at that guy and say, okay, player, good, I got it. I appreciate a man who's just going to lean in like that.
Yeah, well, I'd say I'm no drug dealer myself, so I hate to give advice here. But here's the thing with people that dig coke and are going to buy coke from a complete stranger at a casino. You don't have to give them a sample. You don't even have to give them a business card. You can just suggest maybe that they might want some coke, and they'll buy baby powder off you, pay top dollar, and then be pissed off about it later. I think he's working a little too hard to sell cocaine.
Yeah, going after it. But, again, it's A for effort.
Okay. Yeah, well, you're right.
The business card's a nice touch. That's what I thought.
With a little sample packet with it. Yeah, imagine that. Blew up in his face.
These things happen. So the big game Sunday, is anybody actually going to an actual Super Bowl party, or will you just be watching with friends at someone's house? Like, is it a big blowout, or is it just going to be casual? Candace, what's your plan?
Well, the plan is to just watch it, and we're going to have some dumplings, because the day before is the Chinese New Year.
Okay.
And you're supposed to eat dumplings for wealth and prosperity.
All right, good luck.
But so we're going to do that at home, but then I'm not opposed to popping into Frenchman's or one of the close little Richfield sports bars. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, keep it open.
Fair enough. Tony, what's the Lee family plan?
I think I'll probably be at home with the youngsters with lots of Cheez-Its.
Okay. All right. It's lots of Cheez-Its.
Yes, specifically.
Yeah, really?
The extra cheesy Cheez-Its?
No, I go with the extra toasty.
Why? Okay. All right. I mean, I like extra toasty, but...
No, the best.
All right. I'm bringing you in an entire case of extra cheesy.
I don't know. I don't know that there's any reason to ever mess with the perfect snack.
Because you've not had the extra cheesy. All right. When you have the extra cheesy and you say that back to me, then I'll shut my trap about the extra cheesy.
But
let's just
let the record show that I've already had a bag of Cheez-Its today.
Have you?
Yeah, about an hour ago during a break.
Yes.
Shared some with Candace. Sorry, Tony.
This is true.
Wow.
Bastard.
Yeah, these things happen, man. What can I say? So me just home. Rosemary, our son Connell, up from college. It's going to be nice.
Yeah.
Watch the game. Maybe make it to the end of the game. Although I'm thinking the fourth quarter is not going to be a barn burner. I think Kansas City's just going to put them away, and I don't think Brock Purdy and the comeback trail is going to be pretty. That's me. That's my shot. Yeah, I hadn't actually officially called my shot. Kansas City wins by a touchdown. Maybe a backdoor, maybe some late scores, but nah. It's not that like I want to see it. I've had enough of this Kansas City dynasty. It's only a few years in, but I've already had enough. Let's get some fresh blood in there.
Yeah. I mean, I think I hear a lot of people talking about that. Oh, Kansas City and the 49ers are in the Super Bowl. That sounds fun. Everybody, I think, really wanted the Lions, that feel-good story there. But you get what you get, man. Mm-hmm. The Lions didn't get the job done, and you've got a couple of teams in there that are going to, look for room in the trophy case. Where do we put this one? Stick that one back in the corner,
A study from researchers out of the University of Michigan. I meant to mention this earlier, and I almost forgot. Latest national poll on healthy aging. These folks that look at folks as they age. Music is a huge element for maintaining quality of life as we age. 75% of people polled ages 50 to 80 say music helps them to relieve stress and relax. But that's not all. It also apparently is a big part of keeping your brain sharp. It opens up in a weird way. It just music that you've listened to for a long time, it just keeps a lot of parts of your brain operational. It's almost like Pavlovian response. You hear a song you've loved for years, and parts of your brain that otherwise may not have fired up lately, they go right back to where they were when you were listening to that music. That's my unscientific explanation for what they're trying to tell me is happening. But here's ultimately it comes down to this. Don't stop listening to music. And in fact, as you age, add more of it to your daily life, just for better brain health.
Does that apply to country music too?
No. Sorry, this is a disclaimer. It does not apply to country music.
Sorry.
It does not apply to country music recorded after 1987. Specifically.
Okay, fair enough. There you go.
Dwight Yoakam and Steve Earle's early work just in under the radar, under the wire. Yeah,
hell yeah. With that right there.
Yeah,
all right, we're excited here in about 15 minutes. Acme Comedy Company headliner this weekend, River Butcher, will join us. Hang tight.
The wait is over. Tee It Up Golf Card number 3 is on sale now at 92kqrs.com. With Card 3, you can play 7 courses. Daytona Golf Course, Stones Throw, Bull Rush, Kimball Golf Course, Springbrook, Pine City Golf Course, and River Falls Golf Club. 18 holes at each course with half a cart for just $159. That is a savings of over $200. Use that savings to buy those extra golf lessons. All you got to do right now is go to 92kqrs.com and purchase your card.
Connect with us on the KQ Talk and Text line. 651-989-ROCK. That's 651-989-ROCK. 92 KQRS.
This is the KQ Morning Show, Friday, February the 9th. Tonight and tomorrow night at Acme Comedy Company, River Butcher is appearing 7 o'clock and 9:30 both nights. River has been there the last 2 nights. There are still some tickets available. Tonight, 7, 9:30. Tomorrow night, 7, 9:30. And right now, River Butcher is sitting in the studio with us. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Steve. How's it going?
All is well. So far, so good. Will you watch the big football game on Sunday?
Well, I think so, probably from the airport.
Okay. Oh, yeah, right. That's a good place to be.
Because I have a late flight, and I was like, that actually sounds kind of exciting to me, honestly.
Yeah.
To just, catch it with strangers somewhere.
And just about every airline you can watch live TV on now anyway. So
Not the one I'm flying. I fly budget airlines. No TVs on my flights.
Oh, come on. Not even on the phone.
Not even on the phone, man.
Oh, that's...
But I'm a baseball guy, so it's really not... And I just don't, this particular matchup, I just don't, usually I'll go with the underdog, and I just don't feel like there's an underdog in this one.
Yeah, no,
so I'm just not, I'm happy for Kansas City that they've been winning, because they didn't for a long time, but they've been winning. So I'm just kind of all right, but I do love Patrick Mahomes, so.
It's kind of hard not to admire the man.
I mean, yeah, he's great. He's the best. And he played baseball, so I'm always into it.
So a baseball guy, you grew up, we were just talking, you are not, by God, from Cleveland, Ohio. You were from Akron, Ohio.
I am from Akron, Ohio. Different thing. We were talking about how it's kind of like people from St. Paul.
Right.
Being I am not from Minneapolis.
Exactly. Get it right.
So I relate.
So the home of LeBron James and some members of the band Devo, I believe.
That's right.
Also
all of Devo from Akron.
Devo. Okay.
Also Chrissy Hind.
Oh, what a pedigree.
Nice.
Yeah. And also Joe Walsh. Kent up the road, but come on, we'll round it up. And also the Black Keys.
Sure, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
So lots of Akron pedigree there.
All right, fair enough. So you've got your work cut out for you. You got to get to that level.
I know. I got to get to that level.
Got to put that name up in lights, brother.
That's right.
So comedy for you, is this something that started in Akron, or was it a little later? You got out, saw the world. What are the origins of you getting in a room full of strangers and trying to make them laugh?
Sure. Yeah, I didn't do that until I was in Chicago.
Okay.
So I didn't start doing comedy in Akron. I moved to Chicago after college, and started doing improv there at Second City. So that was my entrance, was taking classes there. And then Chicago, obviously, it has a huge comedy scene in that it has improv and then also stand-up. And so there was just a really great open mic scene there, which usually open mics are oh, this is a nightmare and you have to sort of slog your way through it. But when I was starting, a lot of the open mics were shows. They were incredible. They had actual audience. People wanted to be there.
Wow. Yeah.
We weren't interrupting their dinner,
Yeah, right.
They were we didn't think this was going to happen. Why are you here? I'm celebrating an anniversary. So I had a really great opportunity to really build that after doing improv. I feel like that gave me a nice little start to talk to
I feel
strangers.
like there's a moment in anybody that's chasing either of those paths where somebody comes to you and just says, not improv. the door to the left, or no, your stand up, go to the right. It seems like there's a moment when it becomes pretty clear where you're better suited. Is that
totally?
Yeah, that's how it is.
I don't know. I don't know that. I think that tends to happen. I don't know that was the case for me. And then I think there are the cases of people who are quite good at both. Yeah. Like my friend Paul F. Tompkins is quite good at both, and a guy named Greg Proops who's on Whose Line Is It Anyway?
He's a buddy of mine, in fact.
Yeah, oh my God, Greg is the best.
Hilarious.
He's so funny.
Yeah.
He just like talks and thinks funny.
Yep.
You know, like his brain is just a stand-up set all the time. But he is just like top of the line, top of the mind jokes.
Right.
And so good at both. And I think I could have been good at both if I had kept my improv tools sharp, but I haven't. I've jumped back in and had a good time, but I haven't kept that skill up.
Sure. How long have you been a traveling? Where you're on the road a good bit, and how's travel work for you? Are you a good traveler, or are you a grumpy traveler?
So I've been doing stand up professionally. It'll be 10 years this July.
Okay.
As my primary job,
right.
and its own thing, and then I've done acting and writing and producing and show running and all that stuff. But I think these days I'm a pretty effective. I can be grumpy, but I travel for work, so it's like, what am I fighting here?
Better figure it out.
Better figure it out. But I do have it very dialed in. We were talking about Los Angeles traffic, and I know how much time I need. I know when to book a flight. I had a 9 a.m. flight, so I know, this is going to give me exactly enough time to get over there.
Yep.
I get in, I get out, I get on the plane. I'm like, this is, it's just not a problem anymore.
Yeah.
Effectively packing,
Sure.
All those things.
My wife and I, we have 2 kids. They're both. They're in college now. They're not kids anymore. But they grew up traveling a good bit. I was on tour all the time, and the one thing I swear, more than their character or moral fiber, I was like, by God, you will understand airport protocol.
Oh,
and
yes.
They have airplane. They have airport speed, which is get there quick.
Yep.
Move through. Don't dawdle. Don't be the guy at TSA. I forgot something in your pocket.
Yep,
no. I'm obsessed with that. So once I saw them handling that on their own, I was like, okay, my job here is done.
They can fly out of the nest.
That's exactly
Don't
right.
be the person who's in the 6th boarding group who stands in the boarding line for group 1.
Right.
You don't need to build your fort of your luggage.
That's it.
You're not boarding now. Go take a load off. I keep one of my jokes that I keep forgetting to say on stage is, I've been going through a lot. It's been rough personally. Been going through a transitional phase in my life, but at least I don't stand up when the plane lands. That's my barometer for my soul spiritual health is that I don't get my luggage down until I'm about to walk off the flight. You do not need to build a fort around your wife with your rolling luggage. Why did you take it down yet? You can't leave.
I don't get it, man.
I truly don't understand. You're making your life harder.
My thing that always blows me away is when you watch people walk down the aisle as they're boarding and they look at every aisle to see if they're at their aisle yet. They don't understand.
Right.
No, trust me, 18 is right after 17.
That's right.
Comes
That's
after
right.
16.
You
It's
just look at 6 and then you keep walking for a while.
Yeah, pace yourself. Just think, all right, 1 step per aisle. I'll look up again in 7 steps.
I'll look again and check
how far I am.
I'm probably not walking at blazing speed.
No, we're just
that I'm going to fly off the end of the plane.
That's it.
And miss my seat.
Yeah, it's important. I flew a couple weeks ago, and this was my last flight observation of just how awful humanity is. As we're approaching the gate, it was very late. I was coming back here.
Yeah.
I left Nashville, which had a big snowstorm.
Oh,
so a couple, 2 rounds of de-icing. Everything's late as hell. We land, and it's on Southwest, and the flight attendant goes, "Listen, we've got a lot of people connecting, and they're in a hurry to get out of here. If your final destination is here, please stay in your seat so that these folks can get off." No, every single person stood up, packed the aisle, and the guy was repeating, goes, "Hey, if you're not connecting, there's 31 people on this plane that really need to hustle.
Yeah.
Not one person stayed in their seat."
Dude,
I sat there like, I can give these guys an extra 5 minutes. And literally nobody. Everyone just got up and left.
That's I was like, so awful.
I know. Wow.
To be fair, I had my earbuds in, so I didn't hear the announcement.
That's right.
Yeah, there is that. River Butcher, you are at the Acme Comedy Club tonight for 2 shows, tomorrow for 2 shows. Minneapolis is a hotbed comedy kind of town.
Oh, it absolutely is. And Acme is one of the best clubs in the country. I mean, you guys you have like a diamond of a club here. I mean, I know you guys know that, but I just want to say it sounds incredible. It feels it's so great. It's so and the audiences are everybody's giving me high fives after the shows and stuff. Right. It was like incredible.
That's great. That's really good. So, how long have you been in LA now?
I've been in Los Angeles. This is 12 years in September.
12
for me.
years.
So
wow.
quite a while.
Yeah,
it really is home to me now, which is kind of wild, you know.
I didn't like LA. I couldn't stand LA when I first would go there in the early 90s. I would always just be there on tour with the band, and I was just always like in West Hollywood or Hollywood or somewhere, and it was always just in your face.
Yeah, it's a lot over there.
I'd probably been there off and on for 6 years before I ever went to someone's home.
Yeah,
and the first time I went to a house on a quiet street with a backyard, I went,
Oh, I know.
Yeah. I totally get this now.
Yeah.
You know,
I feel like that's the thing with Los Angeles is like people are visiting it in these like really booming, wacky sort of like like amusement park ride places.
It's just energy and excitement.
Yeah,
everywhere.
and then when you find like it is like a normal place in other parts
entirely.
of it.
Yeah,
it's like only going to Times Square in New York and being like it's pretty loud and obnoxious.
Right.
Like I understand how you would be skewed.
Yeah, when we lived there, my wife and I we had a toddler and then a newborn, and we lived on a very quiet street, and every house in every direction, and on the other side every house had a kid under the age of 5.
Wow.
And so there was just so many kids for our kids to play with.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of people that had all moved there for work. It's everyone's from everywhere, but it's to this day by far the most Leave It to Beaver-esque neighborhood experience we've ever had. We've lived in 5 cities together, and that was the one where it was like, wow, we right away found a great group of people. And, like the neighbors would come over, and it was like sitcom. Yeah. They just opened the door. I need some eggs. Okay. And it was just, we were all in and out of each other's houses, and I've never had that anywhere else.
Yeah, I used to live in a neighborhood and happened on one of those streets that you wouldn't think that it would be like that, that you just turn the corner, walk down the street, and they would have block parties and stuff. And I was same thing where I was like, oh, I didn't know this actually happened. I thought this was just like from movies about the 60s. I didn't think people actually had kids with sparklers like running around and Stand By Me playing or whatever. But like it was incredible. Like I love it.
It's pretty awesome. And now you're not necessarily a Dodgers fan, but you are wearing a Dodger hat. I assume you've spent some time at Dodger Stadium.
Yeah, I mean I am a Dodger fan, but it's like it's hard. It's
not by birth.
Especially hard to be a Dodger fan right now after we just bought all of baseball essentially.
Right.
So it's
I
not.
noticed.
But like I became a Dodger fan by going there and having. I also play baseball in a baseball league, an adult league with wood bats. We throw hard.
Oh, that's great.
We play the whole thing, And like a lot of my friends are, we all are. Most of us are transplants in the league, and so becoming a Dodger fan with other people at that time, like I became a fan because I became a fan of the guys on that team at that time.
Sure,
in 2015-16, and that team they built, and then that 2017 team that did win the World Series. There's a big old asterisk next to that World Series to me for the rest of my life.
Of course.
But I was really committed to that team. But I grew up a Cleveland fan my whole life, and I've been through the ringer with that team. So I feel like I'm allowed.
Right. No,
I'm allowed to.
With professional sports, I'm all for being a mercenary. You got to go where the happiness is.
I got to find, but I mean, look at what I got becoming a Dodger fan at that time.
Yeah.
Look at what I got,
pretty
Steve.
Great.
Not a lot.
No, but
a shortened season World Series that nobody respects.
But what you have, but you have a great ballpark.
That's right. It's a beautiful, beautiful ballpark.
I was just there last season for the first time in probably 20 years.
Yeah.
And I was telling my son about it. He'd never been, and I'm explaining how great it is. And even I had forgotten how actually great it is.
It really is.
It's and now it's ancient now.
I know
they built it in the mid '60s.
It's one of the
it's the oldest,
third oldest.
Wrigley and Fenway, and I think you're right. I think it's the third oldest, and it's only 60-some years old.
Which
is
their parking lot sucks, though. I got lost in there once after.
That's really.
I mean, that's
really a you thing, Candace.
Yeah, that's a Candace thing.
That again, that whole numbers going in ascending order thing. It's not nearly as complicated as you want to make it.
It was awful. I took my 13-year-old brother to go see AC/DC, and just took like an hour to find the car.
Yeah, that's for that. That's now, hard.
I saw Paul McCartney there. and it was incredible.
I'm sure it was.
And it was also a nightmare because I realized as we were all leaving, I was like, 95% of the people here have never been here.
Right. Yeah, right. They don't know.
They don't come here, and I was like, I really thought I was going to die.
Yeah.
I was like, this is so dangerous.
I saw McCartney at Camden Yards in Baltimore on the last tour.
Yeah,
and I grew up there. And I grew up as a kid. My life was the Beatles and the Orioles. Yeah. That was it.
How incredible!
So much so that if I played Monopoly, I had to have the B&O Railroad for that reason. That was my thing. And so to see him in the Orioles Stadium was like, it was
what a dream.
Overwhelming emotionally.
Yeah, I bet. Look, I grew up on the Beatles, and I was like, sure, I'll go. And then I went and I was like, I forgot that I love all of these songs. And then, guess who came out and played on a couple songs?
Ringo.
That's right. Yeah. And I was like, wow, I'm watching the Beatles.
Yeah, that's it.
Because that's all that's left, as much as you can get right now. It was, man, what a show. I mean, he played for like 2.5 hours, 3 hours.
It was, he did
in his little Beatle boots.
2:45, and it was the week he turned 80.
Whew.
I was like, okay.
Yeah. Incredible.
So that's how you're going to do this.
Yeah, he just goes, man.
Heavyweight champion of rock and roll of all time. River Butcher, I see on your Instagram page, it says stand-up actor, writer, utility infielder.
That's right.
I thought it was a joke.
No, I mean, it kind of is, but it's not. Yeah.
So what? Shortstop, second. What's your preferred position?
I've always been a corner infield guy, but I played second for quite a while. I also like playing. You can kind of put me anywhere, and I'm pretty efficient.
If we go into a cage and I set it for 80, are you making contact?
Eventually, yes. I have to warm up. Yeah, I will.
Okay.
I will. It'll take me a little while to catch up to it.
Okay.
But some of the people in my league throw about that hot, But that's not what we're trying. The thing about our league is that's not what we're trying to have.
Right.
It's a co-ed league, and then it's also. There are many people that I play with who are on my team on other teams who've literally never played before. Okay. And that's what we want, because it's about baseball as a community and baseball as an experience, as opposed to let's have the most competitive game we possibly can. But we are still competitive. To me, it's a great balance, because anybody can come in and play and be appreciated. And my team just won our World Series last year. And it's our second World Series.
Congrats.
And me and my two other managers, it's our third World Series together. We won one together just as players, and then we've managed 2 more World Series. And if we had more time, I would love to regale you with how the game winning or the series winning game went, because it was. I'll tell you this: we've got umpires. This umpire walked over to us, and he's like, and he's a player too, and he was like, I've umped a lot of games in my. I've watched a lot of baseball games in my life. That was an incredible baseball game.
Nice.
And I was like, this is a compliment.
So as a manager, are you cut out of? Are you like Earl Weaver, Bobby Cox? Are you calling people names we can't repeat on the air?
Absolutely not. No? Absolutely.
Okay.
There was a time where that was my style in my head, but absolutely not. I am the vibes guy. I mean, I think we have a great combo between I'll give him a shout out, Colin and Mike. Mm-hmm. And I think we have a great approach. Colin is like he knows the strategy of the whole thing, of like who's going to pitch, who's going to do this. I am the hey, believe in yourself. We all love you here. I see the guy kicking himself, throwing stuff, and I say, I know exactly how you feel. I do the same thing.
Right.
But we love you here, and this you got to show up, like that. And I'll tell you, on the other side of that, when that person starts to believe that,
sure,
it's an incredible gift to watch somebody stand a little bit taller and do the thing.
That's awesome.
It really is. And I just love it. And it's just a co-ed base. It's but it's given me so much in my life, and I love my teammates.
That's awesome. Another thing about LA that was really surprised me was how much baseball and softball there is, because it's so much. It's year round, obviously.
Oh yeah.
But when we got there was a couple of, I had some friends with older kids, and Little League to me was something you did from started in March, it was over at the end of May for summer. Didn't even go through the summer. It was a spring sport. But it's just year round
all the time,
and there's you can find a batting cage. Just drive up the block and you're going to find a place to swing the bat. I just didn't understand how much a part of the culture it is. And the adult leagues, my cousin, they played fast pitch. It was softball, but it was fast pitch.
Oh yeah,
and out in the valley. And
that's hard to find, adult fast pitch.
So intense.
Yeah,
I mean, man, I was blown away watching some of those guys.
Yeah. I grew up playing baseball and ended up in Sioux City, Iowa, doing a radio gig. Fast pitch softball, men's leagues are really big down there. And I went, oh, yeah, I'm going to go play some fast pitch softball. It'll be easier because it's a bigger ball.
Dude.
I go down there was some lumberjack on the mound. And the first one, I made contact. It took the bat out of my hand. I was like, all right, where's the slow pitch league at? Over there? All right.
Yeah, I mean, fast pitch softball, the mound is closer.
Yeah.
It's coming in so hot, rising up. They do that rising.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
There was a guy for years, Eddie Feiner, who had a thing called the King in his Court. Were you ever familiar with that?
No, I don't know.
He would come through Sioux City and do exhibitions to kick off the season.
Barnstorming.
Oh, that's so great.
It was a guy and his 3 sons, and they played. They played against full teams, the 4 of them.
Yeah. Wow.
He pitched, and then they had 1 outfielder, a catcher, and 1 infielder, and you couldn't beat him.
Wow.
They were legendary. It was like
wow, that's incredible.
It was like the Harlem Globetrotters if they played 3-on-5 or 2-on-5. It was nuts.
I believe he was from New Zealand. It's the national sport there, fast pitch softball in New Zealand. Yeah.
Wow.
What?
There was a company in Sioux City, a meatpacking plant, that would hire a bunch of guys from New Zealand as ringers to bring over.
Seriously?
Just to put them on their team, yeah.
Wow.
That's what I remember about Sioux City, Iowa. Meatpacking.
It sounds like we're talking about the 30s. You know what I mean? Like, because that's what this country, that's before we had TV. It was just baseball, softball. Yeah, that's all exactly anybody. There were all these factory teams and barnstorming teams.
Yeah,
that was the thing.
My father-in-law was playing what they called semi-pro baseball in Birmingham, Alabama in the late 30s and 40s. Got, Pearl Harbor happened. Suddenly he's in the Navy.
Right.
And he ends up playing with Ted Williams.
Right.
And,
that's incredible.
What?
Yeah.
But there were so many teams and leagues, and it was just such a part of the culture in a way that, and it's not like football can be that now because you don't play football with your friends after a certain age.
Yeah, you really just don't.
There's not you don't see a lot of beer league flag football happening. It's just not the same thing at all.
No, not really.
So there is that, I guess. So River Butcher, you got two more nights, 2 shows a night, 7 to 9:30 at Acme.
That's right.
Tonight and tomorrow. Tickets are available. You're welcome back anytime you're in town, sir.
Oh, thank you so much. It's so great to be here.
Now we're going to have, you're welcome to stay. We have a little history lesson to share. So hang in here. Let's do this.
Okay, Steve.
It is February the 9th. On this day in 1983, check this out. Gunmen forced their way into a stud farm in County Kildare, Ireland to kidnap Shergar, a horse who had just won the 1981 Epsom Derby, one of the world's top racehorses at the time. The abductors, again, kidnapped a horse and demanded a $3 million ransom.
Probably got it.
A massive police search was mounted. The deadline for the ransom was never set. Therefore, the cops didn't know how much time they had to deliver. By the way, the horse and the assailants were never found. Never seen again. After 4 days of communications, the phone lines went dead, and no one has ever solved this case.
What the hell? This is a podcast.
This was a horse that was a multi-million-dollar a year in stud fee horse.
Yeah.
Just printing money. And it disappeared. Armed. I mean, isn't that the craziest story ever?
That's so nuts that they didn't track that down.
How do you sneak a horse out of a country? I get getting it off its farm. It's not. I mean, if the horse, if it still lived, I have to think it was still somewhere in Ireland.
Yeah, it's got to be in Ireland somewhere.
But you never hear from anyone. I'm picturing like a Reservoir Dogs scene where they just like end up killing each other.
Yeah.
Let's hope the horse just wandered off into the green pastures somewhere.
Yeah, let's hope it wasn't a Godfather situation for that horse.
Right.
Oh, man. Yeah. Oh, poor Shergar. What was the horse's name? Cartoon. There we go.
Get the KQ Morning Show podcast wherever you listen. 92 KQRS.